Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna start a new series, What If Naruto Unlocked the Golden Eye Part 1. If you enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
Among the strongest villages in the elemental nations is Konohagakure no Sato. The village, which was renowned for its exceptional shinobi skills, recovered quickly from the destruction brought on by the Kyuubi attack 8 years prior. After a few years of devastation, the village is now peaceful, but the sound of a mob pursuing an 8-year-old boy with blonde hair, blue eyes, and 3 whisker marks on both cheeks somewhat disturbed the tranquility. Uzumaki Naruto is the boy's name. The way the villagers treated the boy, Uzumaki Naruto, was nothing new to him. He was unaware of the reasons behind his hatred and that he deserved this level of hostility from everyone, but his 8-year-old mind was more concerned with figuring out how to get through his current situation than it was with considering the mysteries that seemed to dictate his fate. Even though he was undernourished, Naruto outran the crowd by using his small frame. He was thought to have the best stamina in the village, outrunning the Chunins or Anbu who were pursuing him to catch him in one of his antics. However, it appears that today is not one of his lucky days. One of the dead-end alleys that prevented him from getting out was where he ended up. Unfortunately, he accepted his fate for yet another round of beatings despite his best efforts to find a way out of this situation. A villager cornered the trembling blonde with a pitchfork in front of him, preparing to impale the boy, and then yelled, "Finally we caught you, demon brat." With a cleaver in hand, another villager yelled, "Today we are going to finish what the Yondaime started. We are going to kill you, demon." Excuses such as, "Kill the demon," and "Destroy the brat," were being yelled by the crowd. If Naruto survives this ordeal, it will only mean a great deal of pain and suffering for him. He barely escaped the first attack, which took the form of kunais, with the exception of a couple that impaled him on the shoulders and legs. Although the group appears to have included ninjas as well, their presence was effectively concealed by the absence of the customary shinobi attire. Using their chosen weapons, the other villagers fell on the boy, taking this as a cue to begin their retaliation. A cleaver cut his arms, a pitchfork stabbed his right shoulder, and a kunai stabbed him in the stomach. He suffered from bruises and further bleeding after being battered to every part of his body. His body ached from all the cuts and stab wounds, and he was in excruciating pain. Curled up on the alley floor, he attempted to stand but collapsed back to the ground, gasping for air. It appears that both his left arm and legs were broken. He was still conscious despite the torture he endured. Tears were streaming down his face as he gasped, "Why? What did I do to you people?" One of the peasants gave him a sneering look. He swung down his katana, intending to decapitate the boy, and said, "Why do you ask? Because you are a demon. We are just exercising our civic duty to finish what the fourth started, to kill you and end your miserable existence, demon." Time seemed to slow down when Naruto saw the sword. He saw his pathetic life flash before his eyes. He remembered all the insults, the taunts, the beatings. It would be a blessing for him to simply pass away and meet his parents in the afterlife, as he was wondering why he was holding on to life so tightly. However, he remembered a conversation he had with the Hokage, his surrogate grandfather, during one of their ramen excursions before he was ready to give up. Retrospective. Naruto and his Hokage Gigi were savoring their 5th bowl of ramen. Along with the Ichiraku ramen family, who provided him with food when he ran out, he loved spending time with the elderly man he treated like a grandfather. As a matter of fact, Naruto was treated like one of the few people in Konoha. Among these were the Hokage, the Ichiraku family, which included Weasel and Dog, the 2 Anbu guards he regarded as older brothers, and the elderly Tuchi and his daughter Iyame. The spirit of Naruto amazed the Hokage. He was still the cheerful little ball of energy that he loved, someone he thought of as his grandson, even though he was constantly beaten and subjected to the villagers' foolishness. As the boy prepared to begin his 6th bowl, the Hokage inquired, "So Naruto, what are your plans in the future?" Naruto took a moment to reflect before attacking the poor ramen bowl. With a fierce determination that reminded the Hokage of the will of fire that the Shodan and Naidame preached during his apprenticeship, he declared, "Well, I want to gain the villagers' respect. I'll do anything to make them love me." With amusement at the boy's declaration, the Hokage questioned, "Well, my boy, how are you planning to do that?" Naruto exclaimed, "I'm going to become the strongest ninja in the world," which caused the elderly man to chuckle. "Oh, that is quite a claim, my boy," the boy said, his eyes blazing with resolve. "I will become the best Gigi and I'm going to take that hat away from you when I do." When the time came, The Hokage would be more than pleased to give the boy his promise because he had no doubt that he would fulfill it. Well, if you want to become a ninja then you need to attend the academy soon, he was thinking. Really? Great. I'm going to be a ninja? The boy exclaimed, jumping up and down in his chair with excitement at the thought of beginning his dream. Relax, Naruto. You're still too young to join the academy, but you will soon. I promise you that, the Hokage replied. The boy joked, sure Gigi, and then flashed him a sly smile. Giving him the puppy look, he said, hey Gigi, can I try your hat on? When Naruto used this lethal weapon of mass destruction, he truly detested him. He looked away and coughed to resist the urge to comply with his demands. The Hokage laughed at Naruto's defeated expression and said, oh no you don't Naruto. Finish your bowl of ramen so one can get you home for the night. Naruto's attempt to persuade the cage hat to leave him has been one of their favorite games. Since Naruto was 3 years old, they have been doing this. The innocent ramen bowl in front of him was attacked by Naruto, who simply shrugged and retreated for the time being. Soon enough, he will receive the hat and realize his dream. Final flashback. Determination seized his whole being as he remembered the memory. Now he won't give up. He will live until he fulfills his ambition of becoming the world's strongest ninja and removing the old man's hat. The aches and pains seemed to be washed away by an abrupt warmth that seemed to radiate from his stomach to every part of his body. His whole body was bathed in an enigmatic light, and he was unaware that the numerous wounds and bruises had healed. The world burst into a riot of colors, including red, blue, green, brown, and white, as he felt the warmth spread across his body and onto his eyes. When one of their number delivered a decapitating swing to end the demon's life, the villagers were about to yell with delight after beating the living daylights out of the demon brat when something happened that rocked them to their core. Abruptly a multicolored aura enveloped the boy's body. A sudden wall of wind blew the objects on the alley floor everywhere, stopping the sword swing in its tracks. A wall of water suddenly materialized, pushing everyone back, including the one that was going to kill him, as the boy threw out his right arm, palm forward. When the mob saw the boy at the end of the alley, they began to stutter and get back up on their feet. The emotions they experienced when they saw the boy standing and all of his wounds beginning to heal before their very eyes were far worse than the shock that had hit them. However, that was not the reason they nearly got wet. The boy's aura split into 5 parts, one for each color, and came together to form a ball. Releasing wisps of smoke as though it burned the air around it, the red aura shaped itself into a sphere of fire and settled itself next to the boy, a few inches from his right thigh. A tiny drop of water fell on the alley floor as the blue aura transformed into water that materialized out of thin air and settled next to the left thigh. On the boy's right arm, the green appeared to be a ball of wind, whirling like a miniature tornado. The loose dirt at the boy's feet was absorbed by the brown aura, creating a whirling ball of dirt and rocks on the boy's left. The white ball positioned itself atop the boy's head and appeared to cackle with electricity. But the boy's eyes were what they saw that nearly made them shit. The pupil had changed to a 5-pointed inverted star that was glowing an unsettling white, while the iris had turned solid gold. On the west side of the village, Dog, one of the Hokage's personal Anbu, was racing to the spot where he sensed a massive chakra spike. Although he was supposed to watch Naruto, he couldn't help but watch the most recent episode of his Icha Icha series. Naruto was the chakra spike, which only meant trouble. When he reached the scene, his anger nearly overcame him and his blood ran cold. In one of the empty alleys in the commercial district, Naruto was cornered by the crowd, and one of them was ready to use his sword to decapitate his attacker. Something happened that nearly made him shit in his pants just as he was about to step in. He cursed at what he saw. Oh shit. Naruto stood. His energy vanished, but he was rejuvenated, and the warmth that lingered gave him a sense of strength. Invincibility, even. The crowd, a few feet away, was staring at him with such fear and amazement that he nearly burst out laughing. He examined himself to find out why he was no longer in pain, but what he discovered deeply startled him. 5 balls of something were arranged around him, 2 next to his thighs, 2 on his arms, and 1 slightly above his head in front of him. Naruto asked himself, what? What is happening? What are these things? A shout from one of the villagers roused him from his reverie. One of the big villagers yelled, the demon is doing something. Another swore, the demon is escaping. Let's get him. With a cleaver in one hand and the katana that nearly severed his head in the other, 2 of the villagers charged forward. When something frightened him, he crossed his arms to protect himself from their attacks. The attack was effectively stopped by a wall of flame as the red ball flared and emitted a stream of red-hot fire that encircled him. With fear in their eyes, The charging villagers halted their attacks and began to approach the wall of flame. Unbelieving what had just transpired, Naruto asked himself, what just happened? He was simply shielded by a wall of flame from the red ball that appeared to be fire. A voice in the back of his mind startled him out of his reverie. The voice mockingly remarked, "Snap out of it, kid. This is no time to solve the mysteries of the universe." "Who are you?" inquired Naruto, who was now in a panic due to the incident. He was terrified by the wall of flame's appearance, but he was even more terrified by the voice in his head. "Who I am will be answered later. You need to defend yourself against them," the voice said urgently. "How am I supposed to do that? There are a lot of them and I can't run since I'm stuck," asked Naruto. When some of the villagers began hurling knives at Naruto, he was forced to stop his tirade. Unaware of what to do, he automatically extended his arms in an attempt to halt the impending event. On his right, a ball of spiraling wind appeared to sense his thoughts this time, and it blew the projectiles away from him with a powerful gust of wind. He couldn't believe his eyes when the wind blew the flying kunais away from him. "Now what happened?" he asked. The voice growled with amusement, "Man, you're practically an idiot." "Hey, I'm not an idiot. Get out of my head, whoever you are," yelled Naruto. "Okay kid, listen up. I'm not going to explain this again and we are in a hurry if we want to get out of this alive. Those things floating around you will protect you. All you need to do is to will them to do so." "What? Now is not the time to give you an explanation. We can do that later when we are out of this mess. Just think of what you want them to do and they will do it. Now attack." He took the advice because he didn't want the enigmatic voice in his head to yell at him. The wind obeyed his command to carry the villagers away. Abruptly, the ball of wind grew and unleashed a tiny tornado that ripped through the crowd like a charging bull. Pressing his advantage, he wished the fire would frighten the group away by swinging his left hand and pointing a finger at them. About half of the shivering crowd were burned as the wall of flames surrounding him came to life and took the shape of a dragon before flying toward them. Both the wind and the flames subsided as a result of Naruto losing focus due to the screams they let out. Seeing this, one of the ninjas in the crowd threw another round of kunais in the hopes of landing a clean hit that would kill the demon. Seeing this, Naruto followed his instincts once more, and a wall of water materialized in front of him, seemingly fueled by the blue orb by his side that shielded him from the onslaught. In an attempt to escape this situation as quickly as possible, Naruto threw his arms in the air and prayed for the crowd to disperse so he could visit the elderly man and explain the situation. What transpired was simultaneously terrifying and incredible. The sphere of light atop his head unleashed a ceaseless barrage of unadulterated lightning that nearly ripped through the crowd, killing some and sending the others fleeing in terror. The alley appeared to have emerged from a war zone after a few minutes. While the rest of the mobs were unconscious from the most painful shock of their lives, the electrocuted mobs were moaning in agony. His attacks left the alley floor pocked with holes and the walls covered in various scorches. As Naruto lay on his knees, panting from exhaustion, he became aware that the 5 spheres were protectively encircling him. He let himself unwind and catch his breath after realizing that there were no more dangers in the area. "Nice work there, kid. The last attack was a bit excessive, but for your first time, it wasn't so bad." The singer was praised. He was going to respond, but he blacked out into unconsciousness because the fatigue was too much for him. To say the least, the dog-masked Anbu was taken aback. He nearly threw up after seeing what he saw. The 8-year-old child's strong elemental defense and attacks made most Junans appear like infants. When he witnessed the boy go unconscious, he was startled out of his reverie. He was shocked that the elemental spheres did not attack him when he vanished from his position on the roof and materialized beside the boy. He approached the unconscious boy slowly in the hopes that his approach wouldn't set off the boy's defenses, and he was taken aback when it didn't. After picking up the boy, he hurried to the hospital to have him examined and to inform the Hokage of the incident. Naruto awoke with his back to the hospital's whitewashed ceiling. He detested the location. The beatings he receives from the villagers always land him in one of the medical wards. Fortunately, he recovers quickly. Otherwise, the injuries he sustains from the mobs would keep him here for months. As a frequent customer of the establishment, one of the doctors he became friends with even made a joke about him getting his name plated on one of the beds. He realized he was alone when he looked around. He must have been asleep for a long time because it appears to be evening based on the lack of light. The absence of pain from his previous beating was a boon as he stretched out the kinks in his body. He vowed that Kami gave it to him in order to protect him from the abuse he receives from the peasants. He poured himself a cup of water to quench his dry throat after noticing a pitcher of water on the table next to his bed. He glanced around, recalling what had happened. He observed that the vibrant orbs he had seen during the run-in with the mobs were no longer there. That was what made him sad, though. In addition to being cool to have around, those abilities he displayed would have been very useful. Naruto reasoned that everything that happened must have been a dream. He nearly dropped the glass of water in his hand and said, "No, Kit. You didn't dream anything." The voice had returned. Back then, it wasn't a dream. Naruto, who was already in a panic, said, "You're there whoever you are. I thought everything that happened was a dream." He had heard from one of the doctors, after all, that you are unquestionably insane if you have a voice in your head that you converse with. The voice laughed and said, "Nope. Not a dream. Everything you remembered from yesterday really happened." "If it wasn't a dream, then how come I don't see any of those flying thingies?" asked Naruto. "Because the ability is turned off at the moment. It wouldn't be much of a bloodline if it's turned on all the time. I mean really, if you were a ninja, you would be spotted a mile away with your elemental orbs flying around you all the time." "Elemental orbs?" inquired Naruto, who was now perplexed by everything that had occurred. "Come into your mind, all will be explained." Naruto then sensed something grabbing hold of his consciousness. He forgot his glass of water and passed out for the second time that day. When Naruto opened his eyes, he discovered that he was in a sewer. He was surrounded by pipes and in water that was ankle deep. The sound of water dripping could be heard in the distance. The voice, which was no longer in his head but seemed to be resonating everywhere, said, "Well, what are you waiting for? Come to me." Naruto complained, "I would if I knew where you are." A dry laugh reverberated through the walls. There was a reddish glow from one of the pipes next to him. The voice said, "Follow the pipe, it will lead you to me." Naruto had nothing better to do, so he followed the lit pipe to find out where the voice was coming from. He found himself in a spacious cavern the size of the Hokage Tower after a short while of walking. There were pipes all over the walls, red, blue, white, green, and brown. It was captivating to observe. There was a huge cage with bars the size of his body on the far side of the cavern. "Seal" was written in kanji on a piece of paper in the center of the cage. The voice that seemed to emanate from the shadows on the other side of the cage said, "I've been waiting for you, Kit. Finally, I get to meet my container after 8 long years." Naruto asked, looking into the cage's darkness to see who he was speaking to. "Where are you? Or more importantly, who are you?" he asked. Before he could finish speaking, a powerful surge of red chakra that appeared to come from the cage itself illuminated the entire space. He nearly fell to his knees from the weight of the chakra, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving the cavern's lighting intact. He was confronted by a creature he had only heard about in books. When Naruto looked up, he retreated instantly. "Kyuubi." In a demonic voice that echoed in his mind, the creature known as Kyuubi joked, "Got it in one. You're not as dumb as you look." Still trembling a little from the size of the creature before him, Naruto defended himself by saying, "Hey, I'm not dumb." Still loud enough for an enraged Naruto to hear, the fox muttered, "That remained to be seen. Anyway, we are currently in your mind, or to be more specific, in the seal on your body." His tirade was cut short when a chilling wave of murderous intent filled the room. "Seal? What seal? You should be dead. The Yondaime killed you 8 years ago," he said. Kyuubi snarled. Kyuubi exclaimed, "Killed? Huh, the Yondaime couldn't possibly kill me. Me? The strongest of all the Biju. The Kyuubi no Kitsune. However, he did the only thing that could stop my rampage. He sealed me inside his only child." "You?" Kyuubi didn't realize he had said something inappropriately early in the conversation. Naruto exclaimed in shock, "What? The Yondaime is my father." In addition to having the Kyuubi sealed in his stomach, he discovered that his father was the one who had done it. One of Konoha's most powerful Hokages, the Yondaime, was his father. The words, "Sometimes, the stupidity of humans can be very amusing." Kyuubi babbled. "Yes, Kit. I am sealed inside you and the Yondaime is your father. I don't know why this has been kept a secret from you, so it's best if you ask the old man about it, since I don't know anything about it." To put it mildly, Naruto's mental state was in disarray. He discovered that his father was the one who sealed the Kyuubi inside of him. He understood why the villagers constantly referred to him as a demon. Because he was the Kyuubi's jailer, they believe he is the Kyuubi. The fact that the elderly man didn't trust him enough to tell him this information made him feel deceived. The villagers' ignorance infuriated him. Although he did not cry, his rage was beginning to simmer deep within him. The great Kyuubi was examining his host with a speculative gleam in his eyes while he was lost in thought. Although being sealed into a runt was somewhat offensive, there is currently nothing he can do about it. Additionally, He senses the boy's anger and hatred. He had to put an end to this right away before the boy made a decision he would later come to regret. Snap out of it, kid. This isn't the time to wallow in pity, Kyuubi responded. Naruto's head jerked up at the sound of his voice, glaring at the Kyuubi so fiercely that it backed up slightly. You're one to talk. It's because of you that I'm hated by the villager. It is because of you that I'm always beaten on my birthday. It is because of you that my life has been hell. Naruto let out all the rage and hatred he had supported in his tirade when Kyuubi let out a tremendous roar. He was tightly grasped by a red chakra claw that emerged from the cage. He was pulled from the ankle-deep water and confronted by the all-powerful creature that was imprisoned inside of him. He threw Naruto back to the sewer floor, causing a big splash of water as he did so. You have no right to blame me for the life you have, stupid human. I didn't ask to be sealed inside you. I also didn't attack the village without provocation. I was yanked out of my previous jailer when you were born and some controlled me to attack your village. Fortunately, Naruto was still conscious even in his mind despite being dazed. Also, don't blame me for the Yondaime's action. I didn't ask him to seal me inside you. He did it on his own for the reason I don't know about. So before you yell at me for everything that happened in your life, know the facts first, kid, before I ram it down your throat, yelled Kyuubi. Naruto trembled. Being the target of a furious tirade from one of the strongest creatures in the elemental nation is not something that happens very often. But Kyuubi's tirade helped him see that the Biju was correct. The fact that he was imprisoned inside his body was not his fault. Who, after all, would be foolish enough to end up behind bars? Naruto bowed his head and walked toward the cage, shaking his head to get his thoughts out of his head. He muttered to the creature, I'm sorry. What? Kyuubi yelled. Naruto yelled, I'm sorry, okay. I'm sorry for ranting at you. I was angry. Kyuubi huffed and glared at the child. Kyuubi sarcastically said, okay, just don't do it again. Are you calm enough for us to talk now, or do you still want to rant and rave? Naruto inhaled deeply to help him relax. Kyuubi was taken aback and said, yeah, I'm good. So what do you want to talk about? The child in front of him was known to have temper problems, so it was truly miraculous that he calmed down after only a few seconds. He spoke to the child, deciding to try his luck. I'm here to answer your questions. I'm sure that you have dozens of them considering what happened yesterday, so why don't you start and I'll answer the best I can, Kyuubi replied. Naruto blurted, why? Why are you being nice to me? Why, you ask? Simple, I have no choice. To tell you the truth, kid, I don't like you and you definitely don't like me. But what would you have me do? I'm imprisoned inside you for life. The seal was made by the Shinigami himself that tied our souls together. If I escape, we both die. If you die, I die. So instead of bitching about it, I'm willing to work with you to make my life more bearable in this stinking prison. Well, I guess that answers that. You mentioned you have a previous jailer aside from me. Who was it? Asked an inquisitive Naruto. Kyuubi answered, my jailer before you was your mother, Uzumaki Kushina. Naruto yelled, what? My mother was your jailer? Calm down, kid. You're giving me a migraine. Yes. Your mother was my jailer. Nice lady too. She and I got along well together. When she was pregnant with you, a major part of her chakra system and body functions was diverted to sustaining you, so the seal that held me in her body was weakening. But with the efforts of your father, the Yondaime, they were able to hold me inside while you were being pushed out. He stopped to make sure the child was paying attention. He went on after realizing he had his attention. Anyway, after you were born, they were about to reinforce the seal when a man came out of nowhere and attacked your mother, which eventually released me from the seal. I was teleported outside of Konoha borders where the man suddenly appeared and took control of me. Naruto's voice was tight as he asked, do you know who the man was? He wanted to know who killed his family and was the source of all his troubles. Oh, I remember him all right. Kyuubi said in a rage. He was the same man who controlled me to do battle with Hashirama Senju in a place what you guys now call the Valley of the End. His name was Uchiha Madara. Naruto, who was not convinced, questioned, what? He's supposed to be dead. He was somewhat familiar with the history and founding of Konoha because he read some books in his free time when he was permitted to be in the library. Oh, he's alive all right. I don't know how, but he is definitely alive. He survived the battle with the Shoden and he is definitely alive when he attacked your mother and took control of me for the second time. I'm guessing that he is still alive right now, but as to where he is I don't have a clue. Dropping the topic for later, Naruto said, I see. So what now? History is not as important to him as other things. Well, how about we talk about what happened back in the alley when you were attacked? I'm sure you have questions. Naruto gave a nod. Yes. What happened back there? What were those ball thingies that appeared around me? It was amazing. I didn't know I have something like that. Naruto said with a voice of amazement. Kyuubi laughed. Yes, Kit. It was definitely amazing. You see, what happened to you back there was a combination of both your mother's bloodline and my interference. That shocked Naruto. Does he have ancestry? My mother has a bloodline. Oh yes. But your mother's bloodline was in a passive form. You see, her bloodline was called chakra manipulation. In her case, she can use her chakra to form chains that can easily disable anything, even me. That is one of the reasons why she was chosen to be my jailer in the first place. Now it would be safe to say that you already have her bloodline of chakra manipulation. What is chakra manipulation? Is it a way of using chakra for a lot of things? You are partially correct. You see, shinobis have the ability to use chakra for jutsu. There are also some who utilize their chakra for small things, like the Hyuga clan who uses chakra on the tip of their fingers like a needle to close the tenketsus of their opponents. Those are minor things compared to what you can do. In your case, you got the full ability of your bloodline unlike your mother. In your case, you have full chakra manipulation, you can do anything with it. You can make it into weapons, you can use it to move objects, you can even protect yourself with it by forming a dense shield. With this ability, you can use your imagination to use chakra in anything you wish, replied Kyuubi. Right now, everything Kyuubi said astounded Naruto. He is descended from someone. It's not just any bloodline, though, it's an incredible one. He can do anything he wants with his chakra. But something wasn't quite right, he expressed his worries. But what I did back in the alley is definitely not chakra manipulation, is it? I mean, it was different from what you described regarding my mother's bloodline. Asked Naruto. Kyuubi gave a nod. You're very perceptive, Kit. You see, I tweaked your bloodline a bit to suit my purpose. I don't want to have a weak jailer. Ever since I saw you getting beaten up, it took me a few years to change your DNA so that I can also change your latent ability. What you have now is quite different from your mother's bloodline, but also similar in a way. What I did was give you full chakra and elemental control as well as granting you an ultimate defense, so to speak. Huh? What? A bewildered Naruto inquired. Kyuubi simply let out a sigh. This might take a while. Let me see. I changed your bloodline a bit using my chakra. Instead of just manipulating chakra, I changed it so that you can use your chakra to allow you to manipulate the elements as well. For example, you can manipulate your chakra to allow you to create a shield of water or a sword of wind. It's all up to you on what you want to do with it. It takes practice, sure, but I'm sure that you can do it the way you wanted to. That is also one of the reasons why you have a large chakra supply. This ability requires a shitload of chakra to work, so I also boosted your natural chakra supply to at least cage so you won't drop from exhaustion from using it. Naruto exclaimed, "Whoa, that is so cool," as he looked forward to using his bloodline ability. You mentioned something about ultimate defense. What is that? After noticing Naruto nod, he went on, "Oh, you caught that, did you? Did you notice those small orbs that were floating around you back in the alley?" Yep. I was freaked out a bit at first, but now that I think about it, they were cool. Well, those orbs are also a result of the changes I made to your bloodline. These orbs are elemental orbs that is an automatic defense connected to your instinct. If you feel an attack coming or your instinct picks something up, then it will react accordingly to protect you. If you noticed, you can also control it to attack. To explain it easily, it is a subconscious defense but requires your focus and will to attack. Kyuubi elaborated. Naruto, eager to use this power as soon as possible, asked, so how do I activate it then? Kyuubi sighed once more upon witnessing Naruto's excitement. Simple, Kit. Just channel chakra to your eyes to active your bloodline. Like the Sharingan and Byakugan, the eyes act as a switch for the bloodline to work. To turn it on, just continuously channel your chakra to your eyes, and if you want to turn it off, then just cut the chakra flow. After a brief pause, he turned to face Kyuubi with a sheepish expression and said, "That's easy. I can do that. How do I channel chakra?" Kyuubi broke out in a sweat. This will take some time. It was morning when Naruto opened his eyes. He estimated that discussing his bloodline with Kyuubi took nearly the entire night. Given that his body was asleep and his mind was working, it appears that his body received adequate rest. It was incredible that the entire experience didn't give him a headache. Of course, I wouldn't want you to wake up with a headache. I shudder to think your reaction would be when you wake up with a migraine. Kyuubi laughed out loud. Naruto remarked, "I didn't know we can talk like this." In a lighthearted tone, Kyuubi remarked, "You really are an idiot at times. If you remember, I talked to you when you were attacked in that alley. With a sheepish expression, Naruto said, "Oh yeah, right. Sorry about that." With a mental picture of the fox yawning and curling up in his cage, Kyuubi said, "If you don't mind, I'll go take a nap. I stayed up all night talking to you, so I want to go to sleep and leave you alone for a while." Naruto sat up on his bed and shook his head. He discovered that he was wearing a hospital gown after he removed the covers. When he recalled the beatings he had received yesterday, he thought sorrowfully, "I guess my clothes are gone now." He noticed that he was by himself, so before someone knocked on his door, he practiced his bloodline a little. He channeled chakra to his eyes while closing them. Around his eyes, he sensed the same pool of warmth that indicated his bloodline was active. When he opened his eyes, he saw that his elemental orbs were all around him once more. He willed the orbs to move in front of him so he could examine them closely, recalling what Kyuubi had told him about his abilities. In front of him, the 5 elemental orbs moved quickly, as if they were puppies delighted to serve their master. A brown orb composed of earth, a blue orb of water, a green orb of swirling wind, a white orb of crackling electricity, and an orb of red-hot flames all symbolized different elements. He was intrigued and surprised that he wasn't burned when he inserted one finger into the fire orb. It felt cozy and warm to the touch. The tip of his finger tingled as he withdrew it and inserted the same finger into the white ball of electricity. He experimented a little, getting them to move around his body and perform some amusing stunts, like a loop-the-loop. He also experimented with his bloodline's range. It appears that these orbs were self-sustaining and could escape his body's range. He threw the balls on the ends of the room to try this out a little and was pleased that they remained there. Additionally, he recalled that Kyuubi had informed him of his chakra manipulation, so he tried it out and connected to the orbs by channeling chakra to his finger. His plan didn't work out. He only received a sliver of chakra slipping out of his fingers. I guess Kyuubi was right when he told me that chakra manipulation requires more practice compared to my elemental orbs. The Hokage and dog entered the medical ward he was in, but he was too preoccupied with his experiments to notice them. When they witnessed Naruto tinkering with spheres composed of elements, their mouths dropped open. It was simultaneously amazing and strange. To get him to pay attention, the Hokage coughed. Naruto heard someone cough in the room while he was occupied with experimenting with his elemental orbs. He looked back and saw Dog and the Hokage standing on the door, their mouths agape. He waved to them both, and the orbs swung around him like they were playing. He said to his guests, "Hiya Jiji, Dog-san." In order to avoid being struck by the orbs, both approached Naruto with caution. Both were extremely cautious when they approached because Dog told the Hokage everything that occurred in the alley. Naruto became aware of this. He showed that he had total control over his abilities by allowing them to move around his body while directing them with his fingers to allay their fears. "Don't worry Jiji. They won't attack." In greeting to his surrogate grandson, the Hokage said, "Naruto, I'm glad to see that you're awake." Dog said, "I'm glad you're okay, Naruto. How are you feeling?" with a tone of worry that Naruto found charming. Naruto cheerfully joked, "I'm feeling good. Great even. A lot of things happened but I'm cool." The Hokage pointed to the eyes and said, Naruto, what are those? What happened to your eyes?" Naruto said, his voice full of excitement, "Oh. These are my elemental orbs. They're a part of my bloodline." The Hokage was astounded by the notion that Naruto had such a strong bloodline and exclaimed, "Bloodline? I didn't know you had such a bloodline. I don't even know that such a bloodline exists." "Oh. Yeah. These are new. Kyuubi told me that he changed my mother's bloodline a bit to create them. When I get these eyes, it means that my bloodline is activated." "Kyuubi?" yelled Dog and Hokage. Naruto said, "Yep. Kyuubi explained everything to me." He scowled. "He also told me everything about my parents." The Hokage began, Naruto, but Naruto interrupted. "You don't have to say anything Jiji. I understand why you didn't tell me, so I forgive you. I also know that I have Kyuubi sealed inside me and I was able to talk to him." The Hokage, who was astounded that Naruto could communicate with the beast at such a young age, inquired, "You talked to the Kyuubi?" "Yup. It was an accident really, caused by the attacks, but it was good." "I want you to be careful, Naruto." The Hokage cautioned, "The Kyuubi is a dangerous creature." Kyuubi growled, "I resent that. I'm only dangerous to my enemies." Naruto said, "I thought you were asleep," to his tenant. "I was, but I woke up when I heard you were talking to the old man and your friend," stated Kyuubi. The Hokage shook Naruto a little to get his attention after noticing the boy's vacant gaze. "What? Naruto cried out. Dog said, "You kind of lost your train of thought there, kid." "Oh, sorry about that. Kyuubi was talking to me. He was supposed to be asleep but he woke up when you came in and heard you." "What? Sheesh. Old people tend to overreact these days. Tell him to calm down, Kit. I won't do anything. Why don't you tell him what we talked about in our deal?" replied Kyuubi. He nodded to the fox in his mind and looked at his two guests. "Why don't you two sit down? This is going to take a while." Naruto described everything that transpired in the alley and his encounter with Kyuubi to the Hokage and Dog when they sat down. He informed them of Kyuubi's motivation for attacking Konoha and shared his knowledge of his capabilities. The Hokage had a headache from digesting Naruto's story, so he was massaging his temple when Naruto finished. Dog was sipping from a bottle of sake that he had acquired from somewhere. Everything that happened to Naruto seemed unbelievable to both of them. Actually, the child doesn't seem to experience any natural events. "So Gigi, what do you think?" As he glared at Dog for not sharing his sake with him, the elderly man complained, "I think you just gave me the worst headache in my history as Hokage." In defense of himself, Naruto said, "It wasn't that bad." "Wasn't that bad? You just told us that you had a talk with the most powerful Biju in the elemental nations and gave you practically the most powerful bloodline in history. Sheesh. Nice to downplay everything that happened, kid," said Dog. "So Gigi, what do you think I should do now?" Naruto asked, ignoring it and turning to face the elderly man. Regarding Naruto's inheritance, the Hokage made some decisions. "Why don't we leave here and adjourn to my office? Let's finish our talk there. Since you already know about your parents, so it's only safe to give you your inheritance. I think we might need to discuss about giving you an early training course so you can safely handle your bloodline without killing yourself." Naruto nodded. They gathered in the Hokage Tower to discuss Naruto's inheritance after he changed into clothes that Dog had brought from his apartment. When they arrived at the office, the Hokage went to one of the portraits lining the Hokage office, while Dog went off to continue his shift. He wiped some blood on a panel beneath his thumb after biting into it, revealing a tiny crevice. He removed a set of keys and 2 scrolls. He went back to his desk and sat down to confront Naruto, who was playing with one of the elemental orbs. Fire, judging by the way it looked, while idly sitting on a couch. To get his attention, he coughed. "Now Naruto. I have here 2 scrolls consisting of your inheritance, as well as the keys to your parents' house. Since you already know about them, then I'm going to allow you to stay in the Namikaze compound starting from now on. The security seals around the place are foolproof, so you need not worry about mobs finding you when you stay there." As Naruto nodded, he gave the keys to the young man and continued. "This scroll contains all the money that your parents have amassed when they were still alive. We can safely say that you are going to be a very rich boy," the Hokage replied. Naruto questioned, "Why aren't they in the bank, Gigi?" "Simple. When Kushina and Minato died, they were thinking that the Namikaze clan died with them. The civilian council were trying their best to get the money, so I took out all the money from the bank, leaving only a few measly change, then sealed the bulk of it into this scroll," stated the Hokage. He made a smart decision by getting the money out of the bank right away and sealing it in the scroll. The civilian council was requesting that the funds be moved to the village coffers the week following Kushina's death. He was certain that they would go behind his back and embezzle the wealth of the Namikaze and Uzumaki, leaving poor Naruto in a state of destitution. When the civilian council learned that the billions of Ryo they were vying for from the clan account had only amounted to a few thousand, he was practically gloating. He scratched off that victory from his book. A curious Naruto said, "Thanks Gigi, so how much do I have?" The Hokage casually remarked, "I'm not sure, I think you have several billions of Ryo in that scroll." Naruto exclaimed, "What? Billions? I had no idea my parents were that wealthy." The Hokage simply stared at him. "Naruto, you forgot that your parents were very powerful shinobis. Remember that they worked their way up the ladder, so the bounties and salaries from missions made them well off. Not to mention that your mother was one of our accomplished hunter nins, so she definitely got a lot of money out of the bounties she turned in," stated the Hokage. The explanation amazed Naruto. Both of his parents were formidable shinobi. He heard this, and his resolve doubled. He must now put in a lot of effort to become the strongest. The Hokage said gravely, "Now Naruto, there is something we need to talk about and it concerns the council." Naruto was immediately drawn to this. "What do you mean, old man? I have a plan, but I need your permission first." Naruto grinned and said, "Sure, I trust you." He sat up straight, proud to have the child's complete devotion in spite of everything that had happened to him. He is now more committed to protecting the child, and in order to do so, he must restore the council to its previous state. Thank you, Naruto. Now, I plan to reveal everything to the council, your bloodline and your inheritance. If we get this right, then your life here in Konoha will be a lot better from now on. I'm not sure that we should reveal Kyuubi as of yet, since that will definitely backfire on us. Concerned about potential future issues, Naruto questioned, "Oh, so you're going to tell the old geezers about me? Are you sure about that, Gigi?" "No need to worry, Naruto. Remember, I know the laws like the back of my hand. I plan to introduce you as the Namikaze and Uzumaki clan head and back it up with the introduction of your bloodline. Remember, bloodlines here in Konoha are prized by the council, so you having one will definitely swing the decision to your favor. Now all we need to do is to find out if your bloodline will be passed on to your children." "Tell him to go ahead, Kit. Your bloodline is deeply integrated into your DNA, so your kids will definitely have them," said Kyuubi. Kyuubi said to go ahead, Gigi. "He said that my kids will get the same thing I have," Naruto replied. "Good. Everyone already knows about Kushina's bloodline, but we can tell them that it evolved because of the Namikaze genes. This way, they won't look deep into it." Naruto said, "Sounds great. Do you want me to attend the meeting?" "Yes. I need you to be there since you will be asked to demonstrate your bloodline to the council, mainly the Shinobi Council. I already called for a meeting, so they are waiting for us down in the chamber." Naruto exclaimed with enthusiasm, "I'm ready, Gigi. Let's kick the geezer's ass and teach them who's boss." The Hokage burst out laughing. His day can only be made brighter by Naruto. The Shinobi Council and the Civilian Council were the two factions that made up the Konoha Council. The heads of the Konoha clan and the two Hokage advisors comprise the Shinobi Council. The Hyuga, Aburame, Akamichi, Nara, Uchiha, and Inuzuka are the principal clans. Since Uchiha Sasuke is still a minor and Uchiha Itachi, the oldest, is a missing nin, Danzo Shimura served as the Uchiha representative. The wealthy Konoha merchants comprise the Civilian Council. Naruto was given an explanation of the two council factions and his position within them by the Hokage. Since the majority of the Shinobi Council complied with the Yondaime's request that you be regarded as a hero, they are either sympathetic to his situation or neutral. The Hyuga is the sole exception to this rule. However, the Civilian Council is a completely different story. Because Naruto is in possession of the Kyuubi, they oppose him. Votes came to a standstill as a result, but the Hokage was confident that his strong ancestry would persuade them to support Naruto. Naruto saw that everyone was arguing about various issues when he and the Hokage entered the council chamber. Naruto wasn't particularly impressed by the entire situation. Amused by the council's apparent superiority, Kyuubi remarked, "Don't worry too much about it, Kit. Humans have always been like this. You've seen one, you've seen them all." Thus, Naruto questioned, "Why are they acting like that then?" "Simple, Kit. From what I gather, the Civilian Council have been trying to usurp the Hokage's powers for years now. If I remember correctly, Minato told Kushina about it while I was sealed inside her. He was trying hard to stop their power-grabbing schemes, but he was only able to do so much. I guess the Hokage is now pushed back to the back seat unless he takes away the power that they have right now." "Why won't Gigi do that then? He is the Hokage after all. He is the leader of the village." "Yes. He can do that, but he might be working on that right now, starting with you. It seems that you gave him back his backbone." Kyuubi laughed. His discussion was interrupted when the Hokage was informed of Naruto's presence by a member of the Civilian Council. "Hokage same. We were wondering why you called us for an important meeting. Also, why is that boy doing here?" the mayor grumbled. After giving the offending party a long look, the Hokage explained why he was the Hokage and they were only advisors. The Hokage said, "Tell me, Councilman Haruno, who am I?" Without hesitation, Councilman Haruto responded, "You're the Hokage, Hokage-sama." The Hokage yelled the final line, "Good Councilman Haruno. So let me ask you this, WHO gave you permission to ask me why I called for a council meeting?" and revealed some of his murderous intentions, which caused the Civilian Council to shudder in terror. The Council of Shinobi straightened. Hiruzen Sarutobi apparently pulled out his long-lost backbone as a result of an incident. They saw the third Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato, the professor, and the god of Shinobi. This made even Danzo, who was always stoic, smile. "For the past years since I've taken the mantle of Hokage again from Minato, I noticed that the Civilian Council are turning my village as their own. So let me ask you this, is Konoha a Shinobi village or a civilian village?" asked the Hokage with an icy tone. He challenged the council as a whole to respond to his query. The head of the Nara clan replied, Konoha is a shinobi village Hokage-sama. He released his barely restrained killer intent at the civilian council, causing some of them to faint from the strain. Good to know that. So let me remind the council that this is a shinobi village, so this is purely my village. I'm the leader of Konoha. The council is just my advisors. You don't give me orders. I give orders. If I say you jump, you ask how high. If I say you leave, then you should run as fast as you can. Do you all understand me? He said. He glanced around as though he dared no one to disagree with him. There was a brief pause before he assumed leadership of the gathering. Good, now we can start. I called you all here regarding some recent developments that occurred here in Konoha that will greatly affect its future. What developments, Hokage-sama? The Heishi Hyuga inquired. This is concerning the bloodline that woke up in Uzumaki Naruto yesterday after he was attacked by civilians. There were many murmurs from the Shinobi Council about this. However, the civilian council firmly denied that the boy had any ancestry and that the Hokage was being duped. He slammed his hand hard on the table to calm everyone down after hearing that the meeting was beginning to turn into a full-fledged argument. With a sarcastic tone, he said, "Thank you for the silence. Anyway, it seems that Naruto-kun woke up his mother's bloodline ability within himself, but it evolved into something more due to his father's genetic code." One member of the civilian council sneered, "The boy is an orphan Hokage-sama. He doesn't have any parents." "Really now, councilman? Let me ask you this, do I need to give you the talk?" replied the Hokage. The councilman stammered, "What?" The shinobi council laughed as the civilians scowled at them. "I said if I need to give you the talk. It seems to me that you don't know how babies are made. I assure you that Naruto-kun didn't just come out of the cabbage patch or a stork brought him to Konoha." The Hokage gestured for Naruto to come forward and start his explanation, which he did. To continue, "I brought Naruto-kun here to explain how his bloodline awakened. I'll supply the facts that he left out since I knew both his parents personally." He gave the civilian council an explanation of what transpired with the mobs yesterday. The head of the Nara clan, a member of the Shinobi Council, inquired after he had completed his explanation. Naruto closed his eyes and nodded, asking, "So Uzumaki-san, can you demonstrate to us your bloodline?" He activated his elemental orbs by channeling chakra to his eyes. The whole council of Konoha let out a gasp. 5 different colored light orbs encircled Naruto, each occupying its proper location around his body. When Naruto opened his eyes and displayed his dujutsu, a gold iris and reversed star pupils, they gaped in wonder. "This is my bloodline that is activated through my eyes. I call this the Kamigan or God's eyes. And no, I didn't come up with a name for my bloodline. Hokage Gigi gave me the name since it is a new bloodline with no records of its origins." Sume, the head of the Inuzuka clan, inquired, "So what do they do, Uzumaki-san?" "According to the Hokage, my bloodline is made up of 2 main elements. It appears that I inherited my mother's chakra manipulation bloodline, which enables me to use chakra for nearly anything I want. Hokage Gigi also informed me that my father's DNA caused the bloodline to evolve, enabling me to control elements without the need for hand seals. Additionally, my elemental orbs only activates when my dujutsu is active. It appears that my eyes are directly related to my elemental manipulation and ultimate defense." Most shinobi councils were salivating over the prospect of such a bloodline, while the civilians were busy figuring out how to get Naruto under their wing to control such power. This startled the entire council because a bloodline of this size has never been seen throughout the entire elemental nations. The ability to control chakra and the elements is essentially the most powerful bloodline in the world. "What are the orbs that encircle you?" the head of the Aburame clan inquired. "Shinobi-san, these are what I refer to as elemental orbs. They are my defense as well as my attack. It is an automatic defense. It can defend me without my consent when it senses danger." "Interesting, is it possible for us to try it?" Danzo inquired, intrigued by the prospect of such a lineage. After receiving a nod from Naruto, he snapped his fingers twice, causing one of the chamber's hidden ANBUs to launch 2 shurikens at him at a blinding speed. However, a wall of water erupted from the blue orb and stopped the projectile before it could hit Naruto. Danzo then snapped his fingers twice more, causing a hail of kunai to appear to fly out from the wall, but before it could strike Naruto, a wall of wind encircled him, deflecting the kunais away, nearly striking the council members in the room. Uzumaki Naruto's ability to control the elements and use them as his ultimate defense was unprecedented, and the entire council was astounded by the strength of such a bloodline. "It's interesting, Uzumaki-san," Danzo remarked, "your bloodline seems to be pretty strong, but what if someone attacked you directly?" He snapped his fingers once more before anyone could stop him, and this time an Anbu rushed out of the shadows, prepared to impale him with his katana. When Naruto saw this, he immediately pushed out his right arm and willed the flames to protect him. The attacking Anbu was effectively stopped in his tracks by the wall of flames created by the fire orb. He twirled his hands counterclockwise, and a stream of water, resembling a whip, shot out from the water orb and grabbed the attacker, immobilizing him in midair. He raised his other hand palms facing the attacker, causing the flames around him to suddenly twirl around the suspended Anbu, ready to burn him off. After a brief period of silence, the Hokage coughed, drawing everyone's attention. "I believe that is sufficient for a demonstration, Naruto-kun," he said. He glared at Danzo as he finished the statement, saying, "You can put him down now before anyone gets hurt." Danzo merely smirked but backed down from the challenge. The elemental orbs simply weave around him, as if ready to defend its master from further attacks. "Sorry about that, Gigi. I guess I got carried away," he said sheepishly, scratching the back of his head. Naruto nodded and pulled the flame and water back to their respective orbs, but allowing them to remain active just in case of more attacks. "It's okay, Naruto-kun." The Hokage simply waved his hand in apology. He turned back to the other members of the council, who were now staring at Naruto and his elemental orbs in wonder. "Can we continue now, or do you want me to ask Naruto-kun to demonstrate more of his powers to the rest of the council?" Everyone shook their heads, saying they had seen enough and didn't want to be the focus of such a demonstration. "I'd like to proceed by announcing Naruto-kun's inheritance. He will assume his father's clan leadership as of today. He will now be referred to as Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto." Chaos broke out throughout the Konoha Council. Anarchy. The entire Konoha Council was in a frenzy. The idea of bringing the Namikaze clan back to Konoha thrilled the council's shinobi side. But the civilian council was completely unaware that the Kyuubi brat was not only the son of their hero, the Yondaime Hokage, Namikaze Minato, but also possessed one of the most potent elemental bloodlines to date. Naruto and Sarutobi both found their antics amusing. They were anticipating mayhem, but this was the best. There was a complete commotion. It was hilarious, and both of them were disappointed that they hadn't brought a camera so they could capture the council's faces forever. Sarutobi gave the council a few more minutes to run wild. As part of their plan, he and Naruto talked about how things were supposed to proceed. Rather than controlling the council, it was agreed to let them consider the matter and come to their own decision. Eventually, the Shinobi Council calmed down, but Naruto and the Hokage learned a lot from their excited grins. Even the stoic Heishi Hyuga was grinning a little, which is obviously a sign that he was pleased with the news. Since Heishi was known to be a cunning person and might have plans with the young Namikaze, it made Sarutobi a little tired. On the other hand, the civilian council was debating the ridiculousness of the notion that the demon brat was the son of the Yondaime. They couldn't remember the basic facts that the Shinobi Council already knew because they weren't that intelligent in the first place. The head of the civilian council yelled for Sarutobi's attention, waking him from his reverie. The councilman from Haruno was the culprit. The councilman yelled, "This is ridiculous, Hokage-sama. The boy cannot be Namikaze-sama's son." An amused Sarutobi asked, "Oh, really now, Councilman Haruno? Do you have any facts that prove otherwise? We all know for a fact that the Yondaime has never married. If it was then his son's parentage would have been known throughout the entire village." The Hokage gave a nod. "That is true, but that is the reason why all of you don't know about his personal life." Another member of the civilian council remarked, "Explain yourself, Hokage-sama." "I don't have to explain myself to you, but I will humor you just this once. Now, before we go into the legalities of the Namikaze Uzumaki heir, let me first ask you this. Do you think that Naruto-kun is the exact replica of the fourth when he was young? Get rid of the whisker marks and the orange outfit, then you will see what I'm talking about." Naruto wriggled in his seat as everyone stared at him. He wasn't used to being the center of attention because it wasn't always the case. The head of the Nara clan spoke first. "You are correct. He does indeed look a lot like Minato when he was still young. I should know. He was quite close with the Ino Shikacho, Inoichi Shikaku Shuza, group during our pre-Genin days." The remainder of the Shinobi Council concurred. Sume Inuzuka laughed as she recalled the young hothead, saying, "Also, his temper and attitude remind me too much of Kushina-chan when she was young. She was quite a spitfire, that girl. Not to mention the pranks she pulled." "Indeed. Remember when she clobbered Jiraiya-sama when he was caught peeking at the kunoichis?" Laughed Shuza. "He stayed in the hospital for a week after she was done with him." That made every member of the Shinobi Council laugh. The civilian council merely gave them a scowl. One councilwoman remarked, "That is not enough reason to believe that the boy is the son of the Yondaime." You are correct. That is why I brought with me the marriage contract of both Kushina-chan and Minato-kun's. It was a private ceremony held in my office, witnessed by Jiraiya and Tsunade. Also, here is the birth certificate of Naruto-kun when he was born during the Kyuubi attack, signed by both Tsunade and Hikari Sato, who took charge of the birthing. The Hokage raised both documents and handed them on to the Shinobi Council first. After obtaining the documents, the Civilian Council gave it their full attention to ensure that everything was lawful. To their dismay, they discovered that it was unquestionable. Officially, it was. As the son of Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina, Uzumaki Naruto is in fact Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. To get their focus back on him, the Hokage coughed. All members of the Shinobi Council and a few members of the Civilian Council raised their hands in agreement when he called for a vote, saying, "Now we will take a vote should Naruto-kun get his inheritance according to Minato-kun's will." Only Danzo, Hamaru and Kaharu, the Hokage advisors, and a few members of the Civilian Council remained. Then it is official. Naruto-kun will take the Namikaze Uzumaki clan leadership and all assets that come with it. Considering that he is still a minor, I will be temporarily taking over his seat in the council until he becomes an adult when he graduates and become a genin of Konohagakure no Sato. But Hokage-sama, if Namikaze-sama is given clan head status when he reach genin, then Uchiha Sasuke-sama should also be instated as the clan head as well. A council member yelled. The sama suffix was added in contempt, but the Hokage chose to ignore it for the time being. You are correct, but we can never deny the fact that Uchiha Sasuke is not the clan head. Itachi is still the eldest of the surviving Uchiha clan, so until he is dead, Sasuke is not the clan head. The Hokage replied calmly. Over the yelling of the Civilian Council, he demanded, "Is there any else?" He went on after observing that the majority of the council members shook their heads negatively. "If there aren't any more on the agenda, then I call this session of the Konoha Council to a close. You are all dismissed." The Hokage then pushed Naruto out of the room, leaving behind a gleeful Shinobi Council, an enraged Civilian Council, and, of course, some members who were conspiring to subjugate the boy and all of his power. After the meeting, the Hokage and Naruto retired to the Hokage office, both of them worn out from the events of the day. Both of them were a little tired because it was already late in the afternoon. To cool them down, Naruto sat down on the couch and turned the wind orb to create a refreshing breeze. After expressing gratitude for this, the Hokage took a seat facing Naruto. Sarutobi smiled at his surrogate grandson and said, "Now that everything is finished, I would like to congratulate you in becoming the head of the Namikaze Uzumaki clan, Naruto-kun." "Thanks, Gigi. But don't you think that I'm a bit too young to become a clan head? I mean, I don't even know what to do," said Naruto. "No need to worry, my boy. I'm sure you'll pick it up in no time. Now, we need to discuss a few things that come with your birthright." He continued with a nod. "Naruto, you need to realize that one of the reasons why I kept your inheritance secret is because both your mother and father have plenty of enemies. The history between the Yondaime and Iwa is legendary, so they will be sending a lot of assassins to kill you when the word of your identity gets out. I kept this hidden from you because I wanted to protect you, so I apologize for not acting out sooner," Sarutobi said. "I understand, Gigi. But why did you release the information now? I mean, would that just put me in danger?" asked an inquisitive Naruto. Subtly pointing to the floating orbs encircling Naruto, he said, "Well, it would have been a dangerous idea to release your inheritance to the world, but I think we both know for a fact that you can protect yourself now. Since we are on the subject, I decided to let you train even before entering the academy to hone your skills. Among the rest of the Shinobi clan heirs, you are in a bit of a disadvantage since your parents aren't around to teach you their techniques, but with your determination and stamina, I'm sure that you can overcome this hurdle. Also, kid, I would be helping you out. Tell the old man that I will be helping you train, giving you ideas to help you get started." Kyuubi was interrupted. He listened to the entire council meeting while he was awake, and he agreed with the Hokage's assumption about Naruto's future adversaries. With his bloodline, his container can take care of himself, but it's better to be safe than sorry. Naruto recounted his conversation with Kyuubi, saying, Gigi. Kyuubi told me that he agreed with your idea. He will be helping me out as well." Sarutobi was taken aback by this. With his active bloodline, Naruto was already strong, but with Kyuubi's lessons, the youngster could rise to become the strongest shinobi in all of the elemental nations. The offer wore him out. He is still questioning the fox's loyalty even though he is aware of the truth about the Kyuubi attack. Kyuubi chose to express his idea as though he could sense the Hokage's thoughts and intentions. Kid, I want you to tell the Hokage to lock down the room. I want both you here in your mind so we can discuss your training. Naruto questioned incredulously, can you do that? Can you bring him into my mind? Of course. I have lived a long time, Kid, so I know a trick or two. Just tell him to lock down the room and I want you to relay this technique to him. I'll pass it to you right now. When the technique's information was transferred to Naruto's brain, his eyes went glassy. He complied after informing the Hokage of the Kyuubi's proposal. After he burned through a set of seals, the room briefly glowed before going dark, essentially preventing anyone from entering. Following Kyuubi's instructions, he touched Naruto's temple and executed the technique. Both friends and foes have dubbed Hiruzen Sarutobi, the professor, because they believe he is the most knowledgeable person in the field of shinobi arts. In Naruto's mind, however, nothing prepared him for standing in front of the great Kyuubi no Kitsune. He observed the cage that kept the beast apart from his surrogate grandson and the seal that was positioned in the center to keep him there forever. Though he can teach Naruto about the mindscape later so he can alter it if needed, the sewer-like atmosphere didn't really fit what he believed to be Naruto's mind. In an attempt to frighten the human in front of him, the Kyuubi overreacted and yelled, "Welcome to my humble abode, Hokage." All Naruto could do was roll his eyes at Kyuubi's antics. A defeated Hokage, unsure of how to behave in front of the enormous beast that ruled over the other strong Biju, uttered, "Kyuubi-sama." Kyuubi, amused that he had managed to intimidate the ostensibly powerful leader of Konoha, remarked, "Such respect from the leader of the most powerful village, but we are not here to exchange pleasantries. Let's get down to business." Scrounging up all the courage he had to face the great beast, Sarutobi said, "Indeed, Kyuubi-sama. I want to know what you plan to teach Naruto-kun. I don't want him to hurt himself with your teachings." His backbone appears to have been more exposed as a result of protecting his surrogate grandson. When Kyuubi saw this, he smiled. As an afterthought, he added, "I commend you, Hokage. It is not every day that I meet a human that has enough courage to face me, except your Yondaime, of course." Naruto decided to make his presence known because he was sick of the whole situation. He growled, "Stop frightening the old man, Kyuubi." Kyuubi simply let out an amused laugh, dropping the menacing gesture and flashing Naruto a sly smile. To put it mildly, Sarutobi was perplexed by this. He turned to the elderly man and said, "Anyway, we are supposed to discuss about the brat's training. What were you planning to teach him? Sorry, kid, but I can't help myself being a fox and all." To control his pounding heart, the Hokage coughed. "I plan to start him off with the basics. Before he can become a competent shinobi, I will want him to improve his physical prowess before moving on to other shinobi arts. During his physical training, I will be teaching him the basics of chakra control since he seems to need it for the rest of his bloodline ability." The brat part received an angry "hey" from Naruto. "That is a good idea to start the brat's training." The fox simply smiled mischievously at him. "But it would be best to allow him to expand his mental capacity as well. We all know that chakra is based on purely physical and spiritual energy. The physical energy can be easily done through physical training, improving his strength and stamina. However, in order for him to balance his increasing physical energy, we need to improve his mind as well, so he needs to train his mind with knowledge of the shinobi arts and tactics." Sarutobi gave a nod. "Agreed. But such growth would take a lot of time. There isn't any way for him to balance both skills without hurting him in the process. What I plan is to start him off with physical training, then begin his mental training once he attend the academy." "True. But I have a much better idea. Naruto needs to be strong enough, at least Chunin level, when he enters the academy. I don't want a weak container, and knowing his heritage and being my container, his enemies won't be giving him the breathing room to grow strong." Kyuubi countered. Sarutobi let out a sigh. "You're correct, Kyuubi-sama. But I know nothing to help him in both fields at the same time without him breaking down in the process." "You don't? Well, actually you do, but you haven't realized it yet. But I do know how to get both his training done at the same time. I want you to teach him the Kage Bunshin technique that his mother passed on to Konoha." Sarutobi was shocked. It is true that the Kage Bunshin can readily split himself up to accommodate both mental and physical training, but the boy will undoubtedly suffer from the strain of the technique. This is among the factors that led to the technique's initial classification as a kinjutsu. No, Naruto is not strong enough to do the Kage Bunshin. Naruto interrupted the argument between the two because he was perplexed by their disagreement about a jutsu. As he turned to Naruto, Sarutobi asked, "Ajiji, what is the Kage Bunshin?" Naruto, The Kage Bunshin is one of the forbidden techniques passed on by your mother to Konoha when he became one of our ninjas. It is part of your inheritance, but it is a dangerous technique for you at your current age. The technique requires a lot of chakra to pull off, and you need chakra control to avoid overpowering the technique. Gigi. What does the technique do? The technique is powerful. Unlike the normal Bunshin, the Kage Bunshin allows you to create real copies of yourself using large amounts of chakra. It is a technique used mostly for spying, since the clone will pass on its memories and experience once dispelled or killed. It also has its own chakra network, so it can also do jutsu unlike other Bunshins. Kyuubi concurred, that is correct. With the Kage Bunshin, we can easily simplify your training course. The real you would be busy with physical training, since the Kage Bunshin cannot relay physical experience and improvements, but you can use them to read and learn the shinobi arts in scrolls and from your teachers. Kyuubi-sama is correct, but I think this technique is too much for you to handle at your age. That is not true, Hokage. Naruto already has the chakra reserves. If you take time to reach out with your senses, you will see that his chakra store far surpasses your own, and with my presence, I can easily replenish his stores with my own limitless supply to avoid exhaustion. Sarutobi considered this for some time. In terms of chakra and stamina, Naruto is already more than a Kage-level shinobi, and with the Kyuubi present, he won't ever run out of them unless he uses them up first. So you are willing to supply him with the chakra he needs for the technique to be used for training? Kyuubi snarled, yes, I will be helping the loud-mouthed brat. And why would you do that? True that you offered, but I don't see it from one such as you, Sarutobi replied. Kyuubi simply sighed deeply. Hokage, I think you already realize that the kid and I are already bound by the Shinigami's seal. This means that both our souls are merged. When he dies, I die as well. So please excuse me if I want to help train the kid so we'll both survive. Sarutobi understood that the fox was acting in order to protect itself. He understood that the Biju had more at stake than he had previously thought. Thus, Naruto is protected from the influence of the Kyuubi. The only way for the fox to survive is to make Naruto strong, because it is true that if something were to happen to him, Kyuubi would also suffer harm. Since the seal is in place, Kyuubi cannot take control of Naruto's thoughts without his consent. Fine, I agree with your idea. I will devise a training schedule for Naruto for his physical training. The Namikaze Uzumaki compound holds one of the largest libraries in Konoha, not including the Hokage archives, so he can go over the shinobi arts from there. But you have to promise me that he won't be doing any high-level techniques that I know Minato have compiled in his library until we both deem him ready. I will be asking for a monthly report so I can keep track of his progress. Agreed? With that, Sarutobi was banished from Naruto's thoughts. Agreed. He have a deal, Hokage. Now leave me be. I'm tired, so I want to sleep for now. If you want to relay something to me, just tell the brat. Naruto and the Hokage were on their way to Naruto's apartment to retrieve his belongings so he could move into his new residence after meeting the Kyuubi. His excitement stemmed from the idea of living in his own home. The fact that he will be relocating to his family home only heightened his 8-year-old excitement. With the exception of the Hokage, whom he treats like a grandfather, the Ichiraku family, and dog, Naruto has never been exposed to the idea of family because he has lived alone all of his life. Although Weasel was a member of his family as well, the Hokage told him that he had gone missing. To his annoyance, the Hokage didn't tell him much when he asked why. Naruto left for his new home after packing up everything he owned, which wasn't much because he didn't bother to stock up on his favorite things out of concern that the villagers would simply show up and ruin everything. Given that his clan's compound was located on the other side of the village, in a remote location behind the Hokage monument, it took them a long time to get there. When Naruto saw the gate, he was taken aback. It was enormous. The walls were entirely composed of stone and embellished with a variety of symbols, which the Hokage explained were seals that contributed to the protection of the estate. The gate was constructed entirely of black metal, and two iron-bound gates were locked together by a circular notch in the center that held the Namikaze Uzumaki clan symbol. A cross made up of a katana horizontally passing through it in the center and a tri-pronged kunai standing on its hilt. The Hokage clarified the symbol's significance by stating that the katana was Kushina's trademark because she was known as the Red Death, Konoha's most formidable swordsman, and the kunai was a signature move of the fourth Hokage, the Hiraishin. Naruto was awestruck by his parents' fighting prowess and resolved as a child to either match or surpass their abilities. They came to a halt in front of the enormous gate and instructed Naruto to channel his chakra through it by placing his hand on the central notch. He clarified that the Yondaime had designed a complex security seal for the gate in order to safeguard his family. In order to grant or deny entry, the seal can read a person's chakra to ascertain whether they are related. Additionally, he informed Naruto that the instructions to enable him to add others to the seal matrix so they could enter without his consent were in the compound's library. Make sure you only add people you can trust, he advised Naruto. In order to allow Dog and the Hokage to visit him at any time, Naruto mentally noted that they should be added to the matrix. He put his hand on the panel as the old man had advised, and felt the seal absorb his chakra. Initially, nothing occurred, but the panel began to glow blue before an internal click was heard. When the circular notch rotated clockwise and the gate slid to the sides, exposing a huge compound inside, he instantly withdrew his hand. To put it mildly, the Namikaze Uzumaki compound was enormous. He was informed by the Hokage that it was bigger than the Hyuga compound, which was reputed to be the largest in Konoha. Since it had not been inhabited or cared for 8 years, the landscape was largely undisturbed, but there were weeds and flowers everywhere. There were numerous items that needed to be fixed, Naruto observed. This is something he will be doing for a very long time. He noticed an Oriental-style mansion when they arrived at the compound. The walls were of dark polished wood, and the foundation was entirely composed of chiseled gray stones. His home was a 3-story mansion that could never be referred to as a house. The Hokage called his attention while he was busy exploring the area. Now Naruto. I won't be able to show you around since I'll be busy tending to the paperwork and mission reports back in the office, so I'll leave you alone to explore the place. If you want, we can hire some genins to clean up the place, but I advise against it since the Namikaze Uzumaki compounds hold secrets that should be left alone from unwanted eyes. I will send Dog later to help you get settled in since we both know that he can be trusted. Is there anything else you need before I leave? I think I'm alright, Gigi. I can take care of myself. I'll check out the house and I'll find some rooms I can sleep in. I'll decide what to do tomorrow since it's already late, said a sore Naruto. Sure thing, my boy. I'm not sure if there's still food inside the house, but I remember Minato-kun telling me that he has preservation seals on the cabinets to keep the food fresh. You can shop for necessities tomorrow if there is any need, but for now I bid you good night. He was about to walk away after receiving a nod from Naruto when Naruto embraced him tightly. He embraced the boy, whom he already regarded as a member of his family. Naruto muttered, "Thanks a lot, Gigi. I don't know what I'll do without you." He laughed and gave the boy a pat on the back. Not to worry, Naruto. You're part of my family and I am more than happy to take care of you. Thanks again, Gigi. See you later. After saying a brief goodbye, both of them were prepared to take on the challenges that lay ahead. When the Hokage departed the compound, Naruto watched the gate slide shut with a faint click. He walked to the front door after turning around. When he noticed that it was locked, he took out the set of keys he had received from the elderly man, put them in the keyhole, and gave them a little twist. He was immediately enamored with the exquisitely designed, albeit dusty, interior when the door opened. The interior was constructed of dark polished wood, just like the exterior. Considering that they had been neglected for 8 years, the furniture was in fairly good shape, but the dust that covered them clearly needs to be cleaned. He had an epiphany and his Kamagen came to life. Without delay, the elemental orb appeared before him, waiting for his command. In order to attract the dust like a vacuum cleaner, he willed the wind orb to move to the center of the space and form a miniature tornado. It did its job, and because of the amount of dust inside, the once clear tornado now has a gray tint. After gently guiding the tornado outside and away from the compound, he let it disperse its contents. He nodded for a job well done after taking another look around the room. It still needed to be cleaned, but it wouldn't take much effort to get it spotless again. After that, he went to the kitchen and used the same method to remove the dust. He noticed that there was still enough food in the cabinets to last him until he had time to shop for groceries. He opened the storage scroll that held his possessions, which the Hokage had given him, and placed it on the table. To release its contents, he directed a small amount of chakra toward one of the kanjis that were painted on it. Mounds of his favorite ramen appeared in a puff of smoke that soon dissipated. 3 of them were left out for his dinner, but he put everything else on one of the empty cabinets. After examining the stove and confirming that it was operational, he removed one of the pans and placed it on top of the stove. To light the stove, he poured water into it from the water orb and aimed a stream of fire from the fire orb. He made his ramen while waiting for the water to boil. There was silence during dinner as he contentedly gulped his food. He made the decision to speak with his tenant while he was eating to find out what to do moving forward. In case the fox was asleep, he yelled in his mind, "Oi Kyubi, you awake?" Kyubi, not amused at being roused from his slumber, growled, "Pipe down, you insufferable brat. You're too loud. What do you want now?" Naruto sarcastically remarked, "Nothing, I was craving for your company." Kyuubi, now completely awake and focused on Naruto, said, "Cheeky brat. What's been going on while I was asleep?" "Nothing much, I moved all my stuff here at my parents' house. I just wanted to talk to you what to do from now on. Maybe we can talk about my training," said Naruto with enthusiasm. He was undoubtedly focused on strengthening himself through training. "It's too early for that, kid. Why don't you spend a few days checking out your place and take stock on what's in here? You might want to check out the library too to see what we can work with. There should be a scroll there about the Kage Bunshin. From your memories, I see that you forgot to ask the Hokage about it." "Oops. Sorry. I forgot all about it, idiot. Hey, I said I was sorry, didn't I? I'll check the library after I'm done." "Good. I see you're already done, so why don't you check the place out now before it gets any darker for us to see? Also check if the electricity is still on in this place. We don't want to live here without any lighting." "Sure. I'm already done eating, so I'll check the place out," said Naruto. Naruto began exploring his new home after finishing his meal and throwing the empty ramen cups in the trash. Undoubtedly, Naruto enjoyed his new residence. No, he adored it. It was everything he could have imagined. The kitchen, family den, and entertainment room with a big TV were all on the first floor. He was certain that he would want to soak in the large hot spring that was accessible through the back door. The hot spring was praised by Kyuubi because it would be an excellent location for both training chakra control and relieving sore muscles following a strenuous day of exercise. Bedrooms made up the majority of the second floor. 5 rooms appeared to be on the floor, including 2 large rooms and 3 smaller ones that appeared to be guest rooms. There is a bathroom in every room. He decided to remain in one of the bigger rooms, which resembles the bedroom of the master. He was drawn to it because of his parents' belongings and pictures, which he will undoubtedly view in the future. The blonde boy was taken aback when he saw the third floor. The library took up the entire floor and was enormous. Placing his hand on the clan insignia, he opened the locked door and discovered that the third floor was one large room with one section blocked off. Hundreds of scrolls were spread across shelf after shelf. There was an armory in one section of the room with numerous shinobi weapons on exhibit. A pedestal on the side held his mother's cherished katana, which earned her the moniker Red Death, and dozens of his father's tri-pronged kunai were displayed on one of the walls. In order to preserve his mother's memory, he committed himself to mastering the art of the sword. He was amazed by the quantity of scrolls in the library after an hour of exploring it. It was arranged by shinobi field, primarily elemental and non-elemental jutsus, kenjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu, and fuinjutsu. Ceiling. They even had summoning contracts on birds, dragons, and tigers in a little alcove. He promised to ask the old man later because he was curious as to why his parents had several summoning contracts. Fortunately for Naruto, the Kage Bunshin technique scroll was located in the library's non-elemental section. Before going to bed, Kyuubi advised him to bring it so he could study later. Tomorrow, he promised, Naruto would practice the technique. Nearing midnight, Naruto completed his examination of his new residence and withdrew to the master's bedroom, where he primarily examined his parents' belongings. Though it was still too large for him to wear, he fell in love with his father's coat and decided to have one made for him by a tailor as part of his shinobi ensemble. Before turning in for the night, he spent some time studying the Kage Bunshin scroll. He was aware that tomorrow would be an extremely demanding day. Today, Naruto was an early riser. He has woken up before the sun has risen every day since he was expelled from the orphanage when he was 4 years old and began living on his own. He complained a little and made a beeline for the restroom to get clean. He added toiletries to his list of things to buy after realizing he was lacking them. As part of his routine, he woke up with a cold shower and then went to the kitchen to prepare some ramen for breakfast. Kyuubi abruptly voiced his concerns about his food choice, interrupting him. In his mind, the Kyuubi said, "You know, ramen will not help you become the best shinobi." "What? Ramen is the best food in the world. How dare you suggest that it won't help me become the best?" yelled Naruto. "Kid, I didn't mean to insult your favorite food, but ramen won't help you much when you start with your physical training. Let's face it, what you're eating right now isn't healthy. It's because of my influence on your body right now that you're not looking malnourished. If you want your body to be in top condition, you need to eat healthy. I will not stop eating ramen and there's nothing you can do about it." "Idiot. I didn't say that you stop eating ramen. I only suggested that you eat some healthy food aside from ramen. Why didn't you say so in the first place? I just did, you idiot. Be thankful that I'm even helping you." "Thank you. You're welcome. Why are we shouting?" With a sheepish smile, Naruto said, "Dunno. Hee hee hee. Idiot. Kyuubi complained. When you're done eating, I want you to go to the training ground out back and start practicing cage bunshin. With your chakra reserve and tenacity, I'm sure you'll get it down with only a few tries. After mentally nodding to Kyuubi, Naruto hurriedly finished his meal. He hurried back down and out to the training ground after running to the bedroom and retrieving the cage bunshin scroll. To put it mildly, it was enormous, complete with padded logs for taijutsu practice and wooden dummies painted with targets so he could practice throwing. He would undoubtedly benefit from the physical training equipment that was also in the shed. He took a seat on the grass, unfolded the scroll, and began to read. He committed the steps to cage bunshin to memory after reading the scroll 3 times. He had to stretch his middle and index fingers and make a cross with both hands in order to perform the modified single-hand seal. Before releasing the technique, he is expected to channel enough chakra to mold and transfer to his clones. He was taken aback by the outcome, which took him nearly 2 hours to master. He wanted just one clone to show up, but when he yelled the technique, smoke filled the entire training yard. The yard was crowded with yelling Naruto clones as soon as the smoke cleared. His goal was not met. Instead of aiming for a single clone, he received 300. There will be a lot of work involved. Even though he attempted to control the output, Kyuubi told him that the number of clones was normal because he had too much chakra. After an additional hour of practice, he managed to reduce the number of clones to 100. Kyuubi gave him instructions to have 50 of the clones locate chakra control exercises in the library while the remaining clones begin tidying up. He gave the 50 clones instructions to search the library for chakra control exercises and begin practicing them right away. He instructed the others to get cleaning supplies from the shed in the back and begin cleaning the entire house and grounds. He received a lot of complaints from the clones as a result, and some of them yelled, "Lazy ass," at him. After a brief argument, they finally departed to comply with his request. Kyuubi informed him that since the clones shared his personality, he was solely responsible. After complaining for a while, he finally gave in. Kyuubi gave Naruto instructions to begin strengthening his body through physical training while the clones were occupied. He instructed Naruto to begin by running as many laps around the field as he could for 2 hours at maximum speed. He instructed Naruto to begin with 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and 100 squats each after a few minutes of rest. After he got used to it, he instructed Naruto to increase his set by 50. Kyuubi told Naruto to go shopping with the Hokage later while he was running laps. In order to use chakra-powered weights in his training, he needs to upgrade his equipment. He clarified that since his exercise can only do so much to enhance his overall physical prowess, the weight would help him increase his overall body strength. Skipped time. 2 months of training. Naruto began his physical and mental training with Kyuubi as his instructor 2 months ago. His tirades about slave drivers and sadistic foxes were ignored. The fox apparently thought it was amusing to subject his container to the physical regimen. But after 2 months of diligent work, he will never be able to dispute the outcomes. Naruto can now run around the training compound for at least 30 laps in 2 hours at full speed without getting tired. Initially, he practically brought the count down when he applied training weights to his body, but he eventually adapted. When he became accustomed to the weights, he increased the initial 20 pounds on both hands and legs. Each weight has increased to 100 pounds in just 2 months. In order to prevent the additional weight from impeding his growth, Kyuubi suggested that he keep the weight stable for a minimum of 1 month before increasing it. Speaking of growth, Naruto's body nicely filled out after he started eating healthily. He is currently 5 feet tall, as opposed to his typical 4 feet 5. Although his muscles were looking good, Kyuubi cautioned him against lifting too much weight as this could cause issues down the road. He currently has low Chunin standards for chakra control. He became proficient at the tree walking exercise, but Kyuubi suggested that he stick to the tree's sides and perform a full spar while continuing the exercise. According to Kyuubi, even when engaged in combat, a shinobi should be able to perform the exercise automatically. At the moment, taijutsu was slow because he didn't like the styles in the library. In the mindscape, Kyuubi was teaching him the fox fist because it suited his physique. The Kitsune clan was the only one to use the fox fist. It used speed and remarkable agility to hit the target, mimicking the vulpine species' attack patterns. Although the hits were minor, the ongoing attacks have the potential to cause more harm. He was also informed by Kyuubi that he was currently training for the fox fist style, so he was resolved to keep up his physical training in order to become proficient in it. Kyuubi suggested that he focus on developing his mind rather than learning jutsus, so he put his ninjutsu training on hold. He told Naruto that since he could easily command his elemental orbs to perform a variety of attacks with a single command, elemental jutsus was not in a rush for him to learn. Because he can perform hand seals to release an attack without being hindered, the Biju told him that this was an advantage during combat. Rather, Kyuubi gave Naruto instructions to study jutsu scrolls and learn the attack's mechanism so that he could use his bloodline to replicate it. Additionally, he will have an advantage in combat if he is aware of the various jutsu techniques used by shinobis. He can quickly devise a counter to his adversary's tactics if he is aware of them. Naruto discovered that Fuinjutsu was an intriguing topic during his 2 months of searching the Namikaze Uzumaki library. Naruto jumped right into the topic after the Hokage informed him that his father, the Yondaime, was the best seals master in all of the elemental nations. But in order to avoid issues when he begins to practice calligraphy, the Hokage told him to simply read from the books and work on his skills. The Hokage informed him that the dragon summoning was an heirloom of the Uzumaki clan and was one of the summoning contracts. Kushina claimed the tiger and the bird contract as battle booty. Except for the dragon contract, none of them were signed. In order to prevent needless chakra drain, the old man prevented him from signing all 3 contracts, even though he was eager to do so. Additionally, he informed Naruto that he might not be able to sign every contract because he requires specific consent from the boss of each summons. In relation to the elderly man, he frequently visited the compound. Every week, the Hokage came to see how he was doing and to make sure Kyuubi wasn't harming Naruto during his training. He was undoubtedly pleased with the outcome. As they occasionally went for walks around the village or went to eat ramen with the Ichiraku family, he and the elderly man became closer. Additionally, he observed that the villagers no longer treated him with hostility. All of the angry glares and sneers seemed to vanish after the council made public the details of his parentage. Since Kyuubi informed Naruto that these people were impressed by his name and not by him specifically, Naruto was unfazed by this. For a while, this made him unhappy, but he was adamant about using his actions to gain their respect. Skipping time. 5 months of training. During his battles with his clones, Naruto was able to master water walking thanks to his improved chakra control. Although he was thrilled about the summoning contracts, which required him to work twice as hard, he chose to focus on mastering his chakra manipulation bloodline for the time being rather than summoning animals. Because Kyuubi was composed entirely of chakra, he was beneficial. Since all of his attacks were solely based on chakra manipulation, we were able to provide Naruto with much needed advice on how to use some of the techniques he had developed on his own. Naruto discovered that in order to manipulate his chakra, he needs to have profound control over it in addition to conscious thought. He discovered through his experiments that he must deliberately shape his tenketsus to the shape he desires and then release them after carefully channeling chakra through them. Before he could intentionally release chakra on particular tenketsu points, it took him a month, but it was sufficient to get him going. His first endeavor was to make a chakra blade. Since his mother's katana was too large for him to handle at this age, he attempted to use a chakra blade in an effort to honor her by practicing kenjutsu. He managed to make a 3-foot blade out of chakra, but if he wants to make it sharper or alter its size at will, he needs to get better at controlling it. He finally began learning the fundamentals of his mother's kenjutsu style, the whirlpool blade style, after another month of honing his chakra blade. The Uzumakis were lethal in combat because of their style. In order to outsmart their opponents, disarm them, and deliver accurate blows for devastating effects, the style combined a flowing rhythm with speed and agility. He discovered after completing the scroll's instructions that he was a beginner in the style due to his current physical training, so he carefully practiced the fundamentals before going on to the next level. He also got better at taijutsu. He was at least Chunin level on the Fox Fist style, according to Kyuubi. Since the majority of the Fox Fist attacks focused solely on slashing and stabbing particular weak points in the human body, the Biju advised him to practice chakra manipulation so that he could create chakra nails at the tips of his fingers. Naruto was making good progress with his elemental orb training. He was able to employ particular attacks and defenses based on elements thanks to his studies of various ninjutsu techniques. He created different defensive strategies for distinct elemental attacks after deciding to base his attacks on elemental attributes. For instance, he could easily construct a defense of wind if the enemy used lightning jutsu against him because lightning is weak against that element. Additionally, he mentioned the elements that intensify other elements, such as wind intensifying fire-based attacks and lightning attacks becoming more powerful due to a target's exposure to water. In this manner, he can steer clear of things that will come back to haunt him. Since there are no experts nearby to review his work, his Fuinjutsu training is currently on hold. He learned from his father that a single incorrect stroke or activation on incomplete or defective seals can have disastrous consequences or be harmful to the user. Making a defective sealing scroll that will become a bomb once chakra is applied to it would not accomplish much. He kept reading his father's sealing notes and decided to stop there for the time being. Time skip. 2 months prior to the start of academy, 1 year of training. Naruto was now deemed to have gone from high Chunin to low Junan due to Kyuubi's tortuous training schedule. Even with his 200-pound weights on, he can maintain Chunin speed with ease. According to Kyuubi, he is nearly an expert in the Fox Fist style, and his Kenjutsu is essentially at low Chunin. He has advanced his chakra control to the point where he can fight for hours on end on any surface without getting tired. Now that he is aware of any attacks, he can call his elemental orbs an absolute defense without any flaws. He was able to subtly strengthen his defense by developing the ability of his elemental orbs to block off any elemental attacks that use the opposing element. When Dog was available to assist Naruto, he was more than willing to fire his jutsus at him for this practice. Naruto's vast reserves make it difficult for him to manipulate chakras. Making something small takes more focus than creating something large, like his sword and longer nails. During his training, he also experimented with his Kamagen and discovered some fascinating details about its general capabilities. He was able to see chakra when the Kamagen activated. He was able to use his chakra manipulation techniques more easily because he could see what he was doing and easily shape them into any shape. He was able to master his chakra nails because it also reduced the amount of focus required for any shape. The activated Kamagen's complete immunity to all forms of genjutsu is another intriguing ability. It is by far the worst of all his abilities, and he discovered it by chance when Dog was teaching him the fundamentals of genjutsu. Although it was nearly impossible for him to create any genjutsu due to his excessively large chakra reserves, he was immune to genjutsus up to low A rank. During one of their spars, Dog attempted to trap him in a genjutsu, but he saw that it was ineffective because his Kamagen was active. Dog halted the spar and tested the theory, discovering that Naruto is immune to genjutsu if it is active because the Kamagen has an automatic defense against it. Both of them understood that Naruto was impervious to any kind of attack other than physical ones due to his bloodline. The Hokage visited Naruto, who was occupied with his taijutsu practice at the time, and he had a serious expression on his face. When Naruto saw the Hokage enter the Namikaze Uzumaki compound, he stopped practicing taijutsu. But the serious expression on his face, which always seemed to involve him for some reason, was what caused him to pause. Naruto said with a smile, "Hey Gigi. Nice of you to visit. What can I do for you?" The Hokage said, "Good morning, Naruto. Training hard I see," with a serious tone. Naruto gave the old man a silly smile and scratched his head in shame. "Yeah. Kyuubi is a slave driver. He doesn't want me to slack off in my training and want me to master Fox Fist style as soon as possible. He said that it would serve me well in the future." He paused, as if to carefully consider what he was going to say, and then said, "Indeed. Having a solid grasp on a taijutsu style is basic in the shinobi arts. Naruto, I came with some news, though none of them are good at the moment, so maybe we can go inside your house so we can talk?" Naruto nodded and led the elderly man to the kitchen after realizing right away how serious the situation was. The elderly man quickly made tea for his visitor after he sat down. He poured them each a cup and sat down. Naruto said, "Now what do you want to talk about, old man?" Without a word, the Hokage reached into his robe and took out a small black book. He gave it to Naruto after turning a few pages. He picked it up and read the contents of the page. Name: Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki Civilian, Konohagakure no Sato is the affiliation. Position: a 9-year-old Kamagen, God's Eye, is the bloodline. The target has the ability to direct the elements to attack and defend. Genjutsu, ninjutsu, and taijutsu are all unknown. Warning: despite his advanced age, do not undervalue him. According to sources, it is dangerous. Ability can eliminate a lot of people in a short period of time. 10 million Ryo is the bounty. Status: alive, death or capture immediately. Naruto was taken aback. He appears to be a wanted criminal based on his appearance in a book. This rocked him to his core. What does this signify? He studied the grim face of the Hokage. With a trembling voice, he asked, "What is this, Gigi?" The Hokage let out a sigh. "That Naruto-kun is a bingo book from Iwagakure." "What is a bingo book?" "A bingo book is like a wanted poster for all shinobis with a bounty on their heads. It seems that he would got word of your inheritance. How? I don't know. I would guess that someone from the council released your information outside the village. Iwa got word of it and immediately placed you in their bingo book with a large reward. Still a child but already an A-rank nin. He laughed at the last sentence. But why? I didn't do anything to them. Why would they add me in the bingo book and to be killed for Kami's sake? Murmured Naruto. Naruto, you need to understand that Iwa harbors a major hatred against your father, and in this case, your family. In the Third Great Shinobi War, your father decimated hundreds of Iwa shinobis with his Hiraishin. The Namikaze name is greatly feared in Iwa, and it seems that this fear and hatred have carried on to you. The Hokage said with a serious voice. Naruto let out a sigh. I guess there is nothing we can do about this. I mean, there is no way we can just send a word to their cage and tell them to remove me from their bingo book. Naruto said with a dejected tone. Indeed. Don't worry, Naruto. I have the Anbu on the case. They are on alert around the village, and my spies outside the village are monitoring all shinobis they can find just in case some of them plan to go ahead with your bounty. Naruto smiled slightly at the irony of the situation and said, Thanks, old man. I guess I need to train harder so I can protect myself. Through his actions, he always sought to win everyone's respect, but it appears that he received the opposite result. Even though he hasn't left the village, Iwa already knows and fears him. Yes, it was ironic. You can see the excited gleam in the Hokage's eyes as he said, You're welcome, Naruto. Now, what I want to do right now is to test you. I have no doubt that you have come a long way in the shinobi arts. I want to have a spar with you to see what you're capable of. I decided to see what you can do to alleviate this old man's fears when you become a shinobi of Konoha. A giddy Naruto exclaimed, Sure Gigi, when you do want to hold the spar? Why don't we adjourn to your training ground and have our spar there, replied the Hokage. Sure Gigi. Let's go. He stopped. Can you wait for me in the training ground? I need to change into my shinobi outfit. If you want to spar, then we might as well make this a shinobi spar, right? The Hokage chuckled. As Naruto went up to his room to change into his shinobi attire, the Hokage departed for the training ground, saying, I wouldn't want it any other way, Naruto. See you outside. When Naruto emerged from the house and entered the training area, the Hokage was astounded. At his age, he resembled Minato exactly. Naruto appears to have copied his father's attire for his own combat gear. He noticed that Naruto had on a black shirt with muscles that showed off his slender frame. He was wearing dark gray cargo pants with plenty of pockets to store supplies and small scrolls. In addition, he wore black combat boots rather than the typical shinobi sandals. He had strapped holsters on both thighs that might have held shurikens and kunais. He wore a white robe with blue flames at the hem over his shirt. The robe's sleeves were loose, nearly falling to his fingers. The Uzumaki Namikaze clan's insignia is displayed over his heart, but the other side features an odd design. A fox with 5 tails, each of which is a different color, representing his elements. The Hokage thought, Minato, Kushina, you would have been very proud of your son. Naruto walked up to the Hokage and smiled mischievously. With an encouraging nod, the Hokage asked, So Gigi, what do you think? You look good, Naruto-kun. It seems that you based your shinobi outfit with your father's. It suits you perfectly as his heir. Naruto said, Thanks Gigi. So how do you want to do this? Naruto nodded enthusiastically and said, Why don't we start out with the taijutsu first, followed by ninjutsu? Then we can go into an all-out spar. What do you think? Naruto then assumed his taijutsu stance. Sure Gigi. Anytime you're ready, old man. When the Hokage saw Naruto, he assumed a combat stance. Naruto appears to have benefited greatly from Kyuubi's instruction in the fox fist style. His defenses were impenetrable. Naruto slid into a fox fist style basic stance. Front leg on the left and rear leg on the right. His left hand was out in front of him with claw-like hands, while his right hand was balled into a fist and pulled back to his right hips. All in all, it was a frightening sight. The Hokage gave the strong stance in front of him a nod of approval. After removing his robe, he displayed his Shoden-style combat attire. He assumed a battle stance after removing his cage hat and tossing it into a corner of the training area. Naruto didn't waste any time waiting. The Hokage was shocked as he tensed up a little before launching himself at his opponent with incredible speed. He swung his left hand, which the Hokage easily sidestepped, and kicked him in the ribs, but the elderly man blocked an arm. The blow was undoubtedly powerful. The shocked Hokage thought, that kick had a lot of power. To think that he didn't even channel chakra to amplify the blow. The old man, eager to get the show going, swung a well-placed punch at Naruto's chest, which was successfully deflected and opened up his defense. Naruto moved and threw a punch that nearly hit him but was just barely deflected by an arm. For several more minutes, neither of them gained an advantage over the other as they kept exchanging blows. Naruto's speed and agility more than made up for his lack of experience. After realizing that Naruto's taijutsu was working, the Hokage went all out and unleashed a flurry of punches and kicks that gradually undermined the young fighter's defense. The Hokage saw a gap in the young man's defense after a few seconds of blocks and blows, and he swiftly struck with a well-placed kick to the chest. The force of the kick sent Naruto sprawling to one end of the training ground, causing him to feel air leave his lungs. With a groan, he stood up right away and assumed a defensive position while he waited for his healing factor to repair the damage. As he went through a series of hand seals and released his technique, the old man exclaimed, "Very good, Naruto. Your taijutsu is definitely on mid-Chunin level. It seems that the Fox Fist style suited you well. You can easily improve when you gain battle experience as you match your ability with other opponents. Now let's proceed with ninjutsu. Prepare yourself." Earth style. Bullets of mud. After inhaling deeply, the Hokage fired a few mud bullets at Naruto with remarkable accuracy and speed. When Naruto heard the elderly man praise his taijutsu and instruct him to continue using ninjutsu, he was already healed. The old man shouted an earth technique and sped through a series of hand seals, surprising him. Naruto didn't waste any time in activating his Kamagen. The attack was successfully halted when the elemental orbs instantly appeared around him and he threw out his arm, causing the water orb to unleash a torrent of water in front of him. In a gesture reminiscent of the wind style, grand breakthrough he had read in one of the wind scrolls in his father's library, he lifted another arm and ordered the wind orb to release a strong gust of wind. When the Hokage saw this attack, he slammed his hands on the ground and rushed through another round of hand seals. Earth wall style. The attack was successfully thwarted by a wall of earth, but Naruto's wind power blew some pieces off the defense, but the old man was not hit by his blow. Naruto ordered the water orb to move to the top of the field and wait for more orders after realizing that the old man had successfully blocked his attack. He yelled, "Now!" as soon as he saw the elderly man drop his defense. A constant stream of water was released by the water orb, which was obligingly hovering over the battlefield, and it was precisely directed toward the Hokage. He jumped out of the way when he saw this, but the water seems to follow him around like a predator would. He kept dodging, but the sound of the lightning crackling took him by surprise. As he turned to face the source of the sound, he noticed a stream of white lightning aimed at him, intending to electrocute him. The double attack was met with a "shit" from the Hokage, who changed his form to a log. When Naruto saw that the Hokage was successfully avoiding his water attacks, he launched a pincer move with his lightning wave. The ground trembled as the massive shockwave from the attack struck the Hokage square in the middle. All he could see when the smoke cleared was a big, charred log in the center of the crater his attacks had made. After hearing something behind him, he turned to see a huge fireball yelling in his direction. Instinctively, he said, "Damn it." To stop the approaching ball of fiery death, a wall of earth erupted out of the ground. The old man wasn't finished yet, but the attack was essentially stopped. He teleported behind the boy and threw a stream of blazing fire after realizing that Naruto was blinded by the wall of earth he had built to block his fireball. Style of fire. Furious fire. Naruto sensed the Hokage behind him, but this time he was prepared. He summoned the water orb to his side from its perch atop the battlefield and gave it the order to shoot out a strong stream of water. A lot of steam appeared as the two attacks collided with one another. Naruto was growing weary of simple attacks, so he practiced his ultimate attack a few months ago and prepared his orbs for it. Naruto shouted and threw both of his arms out to the Hokage, saying, "I hope you're ready, old man. Have a taste of my ultimate technique." Following their master's instructions, the elemental orbs formed up and floated in front of his outstretched hands. The orbs positioned themselves in front of Naruto, forming a circle resembling a five-pointed star like his Kamagen. They rotated, first slowly and then quickly enough to appear as a blur. Unpredictably, each orb spun and unleashed a unique set of attacks, launching a swirling mass of elemental barrage in a continuous stream that unmistakably smacked of might and devastation. When the Hokage saw this, he went white. Although each elemental attack is quite powerful, when combined, they will undoubtedly kill him. It can reduce him to dust with its chakra. In a desperate attempt to protect himself, the Hokage quickly applied a number of hand seals before slamming it to the ground in the vain hope that it would withstand Naruto's strong attack. Earth style. Kami's embrace as the ultimate defense. The Hokage was surrounded by a slab of earth that was 7 feet thick, forming a semicircular shield that directly faced the attack. A shockwave was created when Naruto's attack struck the earth's thick shield. Naruto continued to attack in the hopes of breaching the old man's defense because the shield held. After several minutes of stalemate, Naruto stopped the attack because his chakra was nearly exhausted and immediately collapsed to his knees, gasping for air. He looked up to see that the Hokage's shield was cracked all over, and the area that had been struck by his blows was cracked and beginning to give way. As Naruto's attack waned, the Hokage let the shield fall apart, revealing his surrogate grandson kneeling on the ground and gasping for air. He was pleased with the boy's accomplishment. That final assault was undoubtedly strong. After all the attacks and defenses he unleashed during their spar, it is only natural for the boy to nearly faint from exhaustion because his chakra reserves weren't at their peak due to his youth. He approached the boy and got on his knees. "Are you okay, Naruto?" Still worn out from the last attack, Naruto inhaled deeply to fill his lungs with food. "Yeah, I'm alright. That last attack was supposed to only last for a few seconds, but I kept it up for so long that it drained me." The Hokage grinned. "Indeed. The last attack was so powerful that I have no choice but to bring out my own ultimate defense. It was one of my personal techniques that created a thick shield of earth strengthened by my own chakra. If you kept that attack up for a few more seconds, then it would have broken through and obliterated me." The Hokage stated that he was proud of what he had accomplished. A disheartened Naruto remarked, "But still I wasn't able to beat you, old man." "Come now, Naruto. I'm the Hokage. I should be strong enough to protect the village and those I love. I wouldn't be much of a Hokage if I was brought down easily, would you?" laughed the elderly gentleman. Naruto grinned sheepishly and said, "You're right. I guess I was just expecting too much of myself." "Nonsense. I'm proud of you, my boy. You went above and beyond what I expected, and you held your own against me. I know you can defend yourself if necessary. Let's go back to your house now. We need to talk about a few things, especially since the academy opens in 2 months." After nodding and taking a final deep breath, Naruto got up and stretched for a while to relax his muscles before going to the kitchen, where he set out a pitcher of orange juice and the leftover cake from the refrigerator. "All right, Gigi. How do you feel about the spar?" He grabbed a piece of cake and took a big bite out of it and asked Naruto how he was afraid of the Hokage. In order to properly assess Naruto, the Hokage sipped his juice and collected his thoughts. "Well, I can only say that I'm proud of you, my boy," he said. "The actual spar was incredible, and you were showing off abilities that Junins could only imagine. Your speed is also at Chunin level, and your taijutsu is easily at Chunin level. If you take the time to channel chakra through them, they can even launch devastating attacks." I realized I had forgotten something. I neglected to take off my exercise weights. Naruto said sheepishly. The Hokage was shocked. Even with weights on, Naruto was so quick. This child never ceases to amaze him. "How much weight do you have on, Naruto-kun?" "Let me check. My wrists and legs weigh 200 pounds each. Thus, I suppose I am carrying 800 pounds of weights in total," a beaming Naruto remarked. "I see." The Hokage's mouth dropped when Naruto revealed how many weights Kyuubi had on his body, and he instantly agreed that Kyuubi was a slave driver. Not even the renowned Maida guy had that many weights when he was as old as Naruto. "So if you remove your weights, I would say that you are at Junin speed?" "Yes. I would be at mid to high Junin with my weights off, according to Kyuubi," Naruto declared with pride, and the Hokage nodded. "Wow. Naruto, you seem to have taken your training very seriously. Let's move on to the evaluation of your abilities. I assume your overall taijutsu is at Junin level if what you say is accurate, and you could have easily delivered a blow after your weights were taken off. Your use of ninjutsu was impressive, particularly the way you used your elemental orbs for that final blow. Could you tell me more?" the Hokage inquired. "Yes, Gigi. My most recent attack has not yet been given a name. It wasn't until I witnessed one of Dog's jutsu during our sparring session last month that I was able to perfect it. All 5 components were used in the attack. What I did was allow the orbs to spin rapidly in a circle in front of me. In this manner, it would all come together like a drill when they unleash their attacks." After a brief pause, Naruto concluded, "I suppose I can call that attack 5 elemental drill or elemental drill." In addition to the elemental damage, Kyuubi informed me that the spinning motion of all the elements would enable it to function as a drill that can get past any kind of defense. The Hokage chuckled at Naruto's naive excitement over the moniker of his method. "Yeah. The technique is aptly named. Now, Naruto, you'll be going to the academy in 2 months, so we need to discuss how you'll behave around your peers," the elderly man stated solemnly. Curious about what the Hokage was implying, Naruto inclined his head to the side and asked, "What do you mean, Gigi?" "My wish is for you to minimize your skills, Naruto. Since everyone in the village already knows your elemental orbs, You are free to use them however you see fit. To prevent your adversaries from learning about your full range of abilities, I want you to minimize them. I want you to conceal your abilities and only use them in extreme circumstances because, as you may recall, deception is a shinobi's most potent weapon. The Hokage clarified, once you have attained the rank of Chunin, you can be open with your skills. He has a kit for points. In addition to developing relationships with your peers, you will undoubtedly be surprised in combat. Kyuubi, who was proud of his container, said, if they don't know what you can do, then they will be unprepared for it. The battle was incredible, and the way he used his elements to attack and defend was remarkable. The final attack certainly has potential, especially when Naruto's development reaches his prime. All right, old man. I'll take care of that, Naruto said. Thank you, Naruto. I also want your supplemental jutsus to be expanded. I want you to use additional ninjutsus to improve your survival rate because you already know how to use the elemental techniques. I assume you didn't account for the fact that you didn't use any of it in combat when you were training. Jutsu supplement? What are those? A bewildered Naruto inquired. The academy teaches those fundamental jutsus. Since you are already proficient in the Bunshin, clone, technique, you may want to add Kawarimi, substitution, henge, transformation, and possibly Shunshin, high-speed teleportation, to your repertoire. This will help you a lot in combat. The Hokage laughed at Naruto's enthusiasm and laughed out loud when he created 5 shadow clones and told them to go to the library and search for those techniques and any other supplemental jutsus that he would want to learn. Naruto was excited to learn those techniques because, to put it mildly, they sounded interesting. As a result, things will undoubtedly be enjoyable in the future with Naruto on the job. Rewind to 1 month prior to the start of classes. In the training field, Naruto was getting ready to sign the summoning contracts. He and the Hokage made the decision to complete this because summons would be very beneficial to him later on. Since the dragon summon contract is a part of his inheritance and it would take little for him to gain the boss's approval, the Hokage advised Naruto to begin with it first. Placing the 3 summoning contracts on the grass, the Hokage questioned, Sojiji, what should I do first? You must first open the dragon summoning contract, sign your name with your blood, and then stamp your handprint in blood over your name. Once you have done that, all you have to do is channel as much chakra as you can while shouting out the technique and performing a couple of hand seals. Following instructions, Naruto opened the dragon summoning contract first, and when he noticed that his mother had signed the final entry, a wave of nostalgia passed through him. He saw it as an honor to become the next dragon summoner, provided he was accepted by the boss summon. He bit his thumb, signed his name on the contracts, dipped each finger of his right hand on the bleeding thumb to get blood on it, and then stamped it down above his name. He rolled up the scroll, took a deep breath to calm himself, and then, while gathering as much chakra as he could, flashed through the hand seals that the Hokage had shown him earlier. Summoning technique, was screamed as he slammed his right hand on the ground. He looked down at Naruto as a huge puff of smoke covered the entire training field, and then it dispersed, revealing a large dragon nearly as tall as the Hokage monument, covered in bluish-white scales that reflected the sun's rays from the head to the top of its tail, making it look like finely cut sapphires. The dragon had a mane of silvery hair that separated the head from its long body, and its eyes were as deep cerulean blue as Naruto's own, with 1 whisker on each side of the nose. As the Dragon Clan leader, who called me? The dragon's voice was loud as it bellowed. Even if he had good reason to faint in front of such a magnificent creature, Naruto quickly composed himself. I did, Naruto stammered. When Naruto acknowledged that he was the summoner, the dragon lowered his head to look closely at the boy and sniffed. Remembering the faint scent of the Uzumaki clan from 10 years ago, yes, this was her child back then. Young one. Who are you and why have you called me? The enormous summoner inquired. Naruto answered confidently, my name is Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto Dragon-sama. Uzumaki. Fascinating. Boy, tell me, where did the contract come from? In my family's library, I discovered the contract. According to the elderly man, my mother inherited the dragon summoning contract. What you said, boy, is true. Who is your mother, please? My mother is Uzumaki Kushina Dragon-sama. This was Kushina's boy, and the dragon was now quite intrigued by him. You are Kushi-chan's child? He went on, receiving a nod from Naruto. Tell me, kid, why you called me? The dragon was somewhat taken aback when Naruto said, I signed the contract in hopes of following my mother's footstep to become the next summoner of the Dragon Clan. Kushina's resolve seemed to be genuine to her child, but not everyone can simply sign the contract and become the next dragon summoner. And hopefully the dragon sage as well. He must first pass the test. That gold child is deserving. However, you must first pass my test before you can be accepted into the dragon clan. Child, are you ready? Recognize that there is no second chance if you fail the test. Until we locate the next deserving summoner for our clan, I will carry the dragon contract with me. Do you want to continue, kid? The dragon said this in an attempt to frighten the boy and test the boy's resolve. Hearing the consequences of the test didn't deter Naruto in the least. Instead, he simply glared at the dragon with a fierce sense of resolve in his eyes and said, "Bring it on. I'm not afraid." This elicited a healthy laugh from the massive collar. We'll see the kid. The soul's test is my test. He moved his head closer to the boy, bringing them face to face. A feat in and of itself because Naruto was greatly outsized by the dragon's head alone. Enough, I will be seeing your life and decide then if you are fit to be the holder of my clan's contract. Look into my eyes, child, and let me into your soul, the dragon roared. The dragon gazed upon Naruto, saw his life exposed to him, and was astonished to discover that the boy also possessed the Kyuubi like his mother before him. He growled at the abuse and glares he received from the villagers and was interested in the development of his bloodline, but in spite of everything the child had witnessed and experienced, his courage and determination were unrivaled, and the dragon immediately concluded that the child was a worthy summoner for his clan. With a loud but gentle voice, the dragon broke his mental connection with the boy and roared, "I think you are deserving of being Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, the summoner of the dragon clan. You have encountered difficult obstacles in your life, but you have met them head-on with the bravery and courage of an army. You can call upon me and my clan for any task you like, and you can address me as Seryu, the boss of the dragon clan. My only recommendation is that, regardless of the path you have chosen, you never stray from your life's purpose and maintain your courage and resolve." "Thank you, Seryu-sama," Naruto said, bowing low to the dragon boss and nodding, happy that the great dragon in front of him had accepted him. "As the dragon clan's summoner, I swear to uphold its honor and not misuse the gift you gave me." The dragon laughed and said, "Yes, kid. Before I head back home, is there anything else you would like me to do?" Seryu inquired. "Would it be possible for me to sign additional contracts?" asked Naruto, and the dragon looked at him thoughtfully. "Tell me, child, why would you want to sign other contracts that you already have one that is more powerful than the rest?" asked Seryu. "To be completely honest, Seryu-sama, I have no justification for doing so. The only reason I could think of when the idea came to me was to use the contracts my mother had earned while she was a shinobi in order to honor her. As my clan summon, I would like to ask your permission as I was unsure if such a thing was permitted." After considering the boy's request, the boss dragon said, "Which contracts were you going to sign?" Naruto told the dragon, "The tiger and bird contract." "Oh, over the years, those contracts were believed to be lost. Kushi-chan appears to have located them and claimed them as her own. I would like you to treat them the same way you treat my clan, and I grant you permission to sign other contracts. Since my kind has a close friendship with the tiger and bird clan, this wouldn't violate any treaties between summons. I'll let them know when I get back to my plane. To let them know about you, summon them in an hour." The dragon approved and vanished in a thick cloud of smoke. Knowing that the dragon clan is one of the strongest summons in the summoning realm and that insulting one is equivalent to suicide, Naruto and the Hokage both let out a deep sigh, unable to bear the weight of the great dragon's shadow. The Hokage let out a deep laugh, and Naruto simply stared at him, perplexed by the unexpected burst of laughter. "What's wrong, Gigi?" "Naruto-kun, nothing. Simply put, you never cease to amaze me. Not only did you win the support of one of the nation's most powerful summoning clans, which was far more powerful than the Sanins, but he also allowed you to sign the others." "Really? Does the Dragon Clan have that much power?" the Hokage nodded when Naruto asked. "Indeed, since the Rikudo Senin's time, there have been 4 legendary summons, including the Dragon Clan and the Phoenix Clan, to mention a couple. However, that's a tale for another time." Naruto pouted at this, and the Hokage laughed again upon seeing his expression. "How about we grab a bite to eat? Restoring your chakra reserves is necessary because you will be calling forth your other 2 contracts. It would be best to be prepared for the worst because I have no idea about the tiger and bird contract because there is no record of them in Konoha." Naruto nodded, and they both went to the kitchen to pass the time and prepare some snacks. Time skip. 1 hour post-Dragon Boss meeting. Once more, Naruto and the Hokage were in the training yard getting ready for the upcoming summons. "By the way, Naruto, how much chakra did it take to bring Seryu here when you summoned him?" a curious Sarutobi inquired. After giving it some thought, Naruto told the old man, I guess it took about a fifth of my reserves Gigi. Calling forth Seiryu didn't really use a lot of chakra, but it would likely take Junan level in comparison to his reserves. As far as he knew, it didn't take that much to even summon his Enma or Jiraiya's Gamabunta. A fifth of Naruto's current chakra supply was comparable to that of a Junan level ninja. Normally, summons would require just a small amount of chakra to initiate the transfer, but Naruto revealing that it ate up a fifth of his supply would definitely knock out any seasoned Junan just by summoning the boss. Okay Naruto-kun. How is your supply of chakras right now? Gigi, I'm at full capacity. Why Kyuubi refilled my chakra stores without my request is beyond me. He simply instructed me to get ready for the upcoming summons. He even recommended doing both simultaneously. What are your thoughts? Naruto inquired. Well, you might as well follow Kyuubi's advice. As an afterthought, Sarutobi added, for now. There is no reason not to trust him because he hasn't let you down yet. With a simple shrug, Naruto opened both contracts simultaneously, signing the bird contract first, then the tiger contract, then closing both, gathering twice the chakra he used to call forth Seiryu, and slamming his hand to the ground while yelling out the technique. Because only very large summons could produce this much smoke when they appeared, Sarutobi was a little alarmed by what he saw when the smoke cleared. This was not just any contract, like Seiryu, the bird and tiger contract was also a legendary contract. The smoke that appeared this time was larger than his previous attempt, and the ground and surrounding woods were covered with them. If he remembered correctly, this was the phoenix summon, Suzaku, a phoenix, one of the legendary summons, taller than Seiryu, with wingspan that might have covered half of Konoha when stretched out, and feathers that were a mixture of red and gold that gave the impression that they were on fire. It was Byakko, the legendary white tiger, and it was the same size as Suzaku. He concluded that Naruto was either suicidal or simply amazing. He thought Seiryu was impressive, but nothing had prepared him for the appearance of these two. Naruto felt that the tiger and bird contract were minor summons, but based on their appearance, they were anything but. He turned to face the Hokage, who was also pale and appeared somewhat frightened. Gigi. The bird and tiger don't seem normal to me. I assumed they were minor contracts, Naruto uttered in a terrified tone. It appears that these are not your mother's typical contracts, Naruto. Naruto looked shocked and said, it seems that your luck is with you today, boy. I understand the dragon contract because it has been rumored that it is a part of the Uzumaki clan, but to summon these two as well, then I can only say that either you're an amazing boy with Kami's blessings or you're just plain suicidal. Two more legendary summons have just been called forth by you. Suzaku, the bird, is a phoenix and appears to be the leader of the bird clan. The tiger is Byakko, the fabled white tiger. We are human, in fact. Byakko yelled, we are the legendary summons, along with Suzaku and Seiryu. He then let out a loud roar akin to the boss dragons. So this is the boy that Seiryu told us about, Suzaku said, lowering her head and giving Naruto a leer that frightened the poor boy. He really is impressive, don't you agree? Suzaku questioned Byakko. He doesn't appear to be much, he's kind of short, Byakko snorted. Activating his Kamagen, Naruto glared at Byakko and yelled, shut up furball. If you think I'm short then come down here and I'll give you an ass kicking that you will never forget. Naruto detested being called short, even though he was short for his generation, but it wasn't his fault. Sarutobi was now terrified. Naruto had just insulted Byakko, one of the legendary summons, and he fervently prayed to Kami that he would survive this ordeal, as well as that Konoha would, until he was cut off from his prayer by a loud laugh and a mocking scream. Seiryu was correct. Without a doubt, this boy is unique. He continued to laugh and yelled, it's not often that a boy would insult me like this. He glanced at Naruto, who was furious about being called short, and laughed some more, which didn't go well with the blonde boy. Calm down, child. I simply wanted to test the bravery that Seiryu so admirably praised when he pointed you out to us. He certainly has a lot of personality, doesn't he? Suzaku turned to face Naruto and said, he wouldn't be a bad summoner for us. Why don't you summon Seiryu, boy? We need to talk to him about a few things. We three don't have the same summoner every day. There are certain matters that require resolution. After taking a deep breath to calm himself, Naruto nodded in response to the request, collected the necessary chakra, performed the seals for the fourth time today, and then slammed his hand down. A second puff of smoke appeared between the two legendary summons, revealing an amused Seiryu. You brought me out again, young one, before a day had even passed. What appears to be the issue? I'm not familiar with Seiryu-sama. Seiryu merely gave his fellow summon a mocking glance. Suzaku-sama and the white furball over there asked me to summon you back here, he said, pointing an accusing finger at a complaining Byako. Did you not insult him? Byako, you've always been the one with the wildest mouth among all of us? You old pile of scales, stop talking. I had no idea that the child disliked the name short. When Byako looked down, he saw a red-faced Naruto with another rock floating in front of him, ready to throw again, but he was stopped by a big rock that struck him in the head. Don't call me short, you overgrown pile of fur. You pitiful human, how dare you throw a rock at me? I am a human, your majesty, here's another one for you. He then hurled another rock at Byako, hitting him in the nose and causing him to sneeze. Suzaku was now sprawled on the ground, rolling in laughter, while Seiryu was laughing uncontrollably. Huffing, Byako said, shut up you two. Oh no, this is simply excessive. Seiryu yelled. A small, young boy conked Byako, the white tiger of the legendary summons, on the head. Before the boy could target him, Seiryu quickly changed the adjective, small. I am discussing this with everyone. Ha ha ha, Suzaku yelled. All right, all right. When he saw the boy make another rock, bigger than the first two, he paused and said, I mean boy. I'll let it go this once, sure. The three legendary beasts chuckled as Naruto huffed, crossed his arms over his chest, and turned his head away, saying, just don't call me short. Why have you asked Naruto to summon me? Seiryu asked, looking at his fellow summons after regaining his composure. Easy, now that all three of us have accepted the child's signature. We must choose the primary summoner, Byako stated. Oh, I assumed it had already been decided. Given that he is an Uzumaki, it makes sense that I would be his main summoner, Seiryu said coolly. Oh no, you old prune, you don't. You shouldn't be his main summoner because we are all of the same rank here. I refuse to have any dragons rule over me, Suzaku sighed. Well, you old bag of feathers, good luck. Seiryu defended himself by saying, I technically hold superiority over both of you because he signed my contract first. Seiryu, stop talking. Byako, eager for a fight, proposed, why don't we three deck it out and the winner becomes Naruto's primary summon? I concur. We haven't engaged in a full-on brawl in a long time, Suzaku concurred. It wasn't easy, because they are legendary summons after all, but just as they were about to attack, a huge gust of wind struck them head-on, pushing them back, and they looked down to see Naruto panting on the ground, possibly from exhaustion from releasing such a powerful attack just to get their attention. Taking a deep breath to re-inflate his lungs, Naruto glared at the three summons and growled, already sensing Kyuubi laughing uncontrollably as he refilled his chakra supply. You dare not fight here. My home will be destroyed by you. For Kami's sake, you'll destroy all of Konoha, Naruto yelled. All right, young one. How should we resolve this conflict, in your opinion? Seiryu responded, making fun of the child's outburst. Why do I need a primary summon anyway? Naruto asked the three summons in front of him after giving it some thought. Why is having a primary summon important? Young one, when someone is worthy or powerful enough to summon one of us, then they are automatically our representatives in this world. Suzaku decided to respond to the boy. When they are old enough and strong enough, he will become a sage trained by our arts and methods. Given that all three of us are your primary summons, it is therefore impossible for you to become a sage. What's the reason? A bewildered Naruto said, I mean, there's nothing wrong with you three becoming sages. Look at this, youngster. It isn't that easy. You get some of our powers when you become a sage. Just one of us can practically increase your power to the point where you can easily surpass all other elemental nations in strength. This rule was established by Kami to prevent us from simply giving you access to all of our skills. Humans shouldn't be that strong. These kinds of things have their limits, Byako clarified. Then don't. I won't become a sage if all you're going to do is argue all day. In any case, I can survive without your gifts. I'll strengthen myself. Have faith, Naruto exclaimed. Why would this be any different? He has always relied on his own strength and has survived thus far without assistance. The fact that this child is rejecting their gifts, which would essentially make him the most powerful person on the planet, shocked all three summons at once. The lure of power should be too great for any human to resist, but this child simply sneered at their gifts and preferred to have them serve as his summons. He is either selfless or simply unintelligent. Byako, Suzaku, and Seiryu simply exchanged long glances as though speaking to each other solely with their eyes. It appears that Naruto has passed another test. This time, he was able to get past Kami's weakness when this occurred. On behalf of the three of them, Seiryu said, "Congratulations, Naruto. You passed one of our tests again, or more specifically, Kami's test." "What do you mean I passed the test?" Naruto asked, staring at all three of his summons for a long time in confusion. "I believed I had already received your summons." "Indeed. You did pass our test individually and you have become our summoner. However, you passed another test. An unspoken test set by Kami herself when more than one legendary summon has the same summoner." "Okay. I'm really confused. Can you please explain it to me?" said Naruto. "It is simple, young one. You see, Kami herself foresaw that it is possible for our summoning contracts to befall on the same summoner, so it is very possible for our special group to have the same summoner. Considering the rule in bestowing our summoner some of our powers, Kami herself made a loophole. A test, you might say, to see if the person is granted that specific loophole," Suzaku clarified to the blonde kid. "And what test did I just pass?" "Simple. You passed the test of power. You see, it has always been human nature to crave more power. However, there are reasons for such a person to do so. They will either want the power to rule others, to avenge, or even to kill. However, you changed all that. When you saw that we were arguing over the power we can bestow upon you, you made up your mind to forego such gifts and simply rely on your own strength. That shows your determination to rise above others without having to accept power from others. So you passed Kami's test." Suzaku was pleased with his new summoner. "So since I passed this test, do I still become a sage, and who will become my primary summon?" "Yes, you will become a sage, but instead of being taught our arts, you will be given specific gifts or abilities that we think you might need for the future. Regarding primary summons, well, we all would be your primary summon, so we will be giving you our own brand of summoning contract as befitting of our in your station," completed Suzaku. She nodded her head as she glanced at the others. "Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, do you accept to be the summoner of the Bird Clan?" she yelled as she grew to her full height. Naruto bowed. Naruto said, "Yes, Suzaku-sama," in a voice that was full of conviction and unwavering resolve. When Suzaku threw a stream of fire at Naruto, who didn't even bat an eyelid, he said, "Good. Then hold out your arm and receive my contract with you." Naruto held out his right arm. The fire compressed and rushed toward Naruto's bicep rather than completely destroying him. After a slight burn, the flame went out, exposing a tattoo of a phoenix in the same hues as Suzaku. It was beautiful and frightening. "If you need to summon me or my clan, all you need to do channel your chakra to the tattoo and we will appear." Seiryu said something this time. After observing Naruto nod, he went on, "Young one. I know that I have already accepted you as the Dragon Clan's summoner, but protocol must be followed. Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, will you accept the responsibility befitting to that of the Dragon Clan summoner?" After bowing once more, Naruto answered his initial summons. "I agree, Seiryu-sama." A flash of bright blue lightning erupted from Seiryu's mouth and wound itself around Naruto's wrists. "Very well, boy. Make the Dragon Clan proud of your actions. Hold out your right arm to receive my contract." After the lightning subsided, Naruto's wrist was covered in a dragon tattoo. Seiryu biting its own tail was depicted on it. This is similar to Suzaku's mark. "To call me in the Dragon Clan, just concentrate your chakra to my tattoo." To get Naruto's attention, Byako snarled. He pulled himself up to his full height and said, "I hate formalities, but oh well. Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, do you accept the duty involved in being the summoner of the Tiger Clan?" Just as Naruto was about to call him furball, he suddenly realized what he was in. He therefore controlled his childish tendencies and spoke to the white tiger in a manner appropriate to its rank. "I accept, Byako-sama. I will uphold the honor and duty as befitting of a tiger summoner." Byako gave Naruto's conviction a nod of admiration. He opened his mouth and directed a compressed light beam at Naruto's hands back, saying, "Good, hold out your right arm to receive my contract." When the light struck the back of his hand, he felt a slight numbness, but he chose to ignore it. When the light vanished, a tattoo of a roaring Byako was visible. Naruto was admiring his new tattoos after the ceremony when Seiryu spoke. "Congratulations, Naruto. You have become our summoner. You may summon anyone from our clan for anything you wish of us, and we will comply with the best of our abilities. The only thing we ask of you is to treat us with respect, and we will return it tenfold. Also, summon us 3 years from now to receive our gifts to you." With that, he returned to the summoning realm. A blushing Naruto was left behind as Suzaku crooned, "Farewell for now, Naruto-kun," and strode back to the summoning realm. Before being struck by a rock the size of his head by an enraged Naruto who was debating whether to call forth the furball to strike him again for calling him shorty, he poofed away, saying, "Well, bye for now, shorty." Naruto took a deep breath to help him relax. What a crazy day it has been. Naruto wasn't feeling well. To avoid being late for the academy, a bothersome fox in his head violently roused him from a pleasant sleep. Speaking of the academy, Naruto has been avoiding the topic ever since he was told by the elderly man that there would be nothing valuable to learn there. He understood that the academy would only teach the fundamentals, primarily the henge, transformation, illusion, standard bunshin, clone, and kawarimi, substitution, which he had already mastered with flying colors. Additionally, he does not look forward to a teacher's monotonous voice repeating Konoha's history. Thank you very much. He can read it from a book or a scroll. He cannot, however, ignore the fact that the Hokage and Kyuubi both have valid points about his academy attendance. Since every clan heir would be present, this year would be particularly memorable at the academy. They both maintained that he would become much more respected in Konoha if he could win the heirs' favor and friendship. Gaining the trust of their parents is a smart move because they are also members of the Shinobi Council. He made a shadow clone and asked it to prepare some breakfast before he threw himself off the warm bed and proceeded straight to the bathroom for his morning ritual. Since he won't be fighting anytime soon, he wore a casual outfit after taking a shower instead of his favorite gear. He went to the kitchen to eat his breakfast, which consisted of eggs, bacon, and pancakes. Before dispelling, he threw the dishes on the sink and made another shadow clone to clean them up. In order to continue reading about Fuinjutsu, he also made a second clone to visit the library. He left the compound and made his way directly to the Hokage Tower to speak with the elderly man before heading to school after realizing that he still had an hour before the academy started. He observed the absence of glares and insults from the villagers as he made his way to the Hokage Tower. While some were bowing to him, others even said, "Good morning." Namikaze-sama appears to be the new term for him, rather than demon or brat. It didn't sit well with him. He wanted to earn their respect and trust by his actions, so he wasn't happy to receive it because of his parents' status. He entered the old man's office as soon as he reached the Hokage Tower. The secretary merely made a courteous bow, but he chose to ignore it since he could sense the lady's hatred. Upon arriving at the Hokage's office, he simply walked in without knocking. He noticed that the elderly man was occupied with occasionally puffing on his pipe and gazing out the window. "Hiya Jiji," Naruto said. The Hokage turned to face Naruto and smiled warmly at his surrogate grandson. "Good morning, Naruto. What brings you here in my office? Aren't you supposed to be in the academy? It's your first day there, you know," the Hokage replied. Naruto let out a moan. Naruto said glumly, "I know. Now my boy, it won't be so bad. Think of it as an experience. Besides, you need to be with people your age. You're already too mature for a 9-year-old, so having someone within your age group should be fun for you," advised Sarutobi. "Fine, old man. You don't have to patronize me, you know. I already agreed to attend the academy for the next 3 years, so you don't have to sell the idea to me." Naruto sighed. It made the Hokage laugh. Good. What brings you here to my office? Do you need anything?" "No, not really, but I was wondering if it's possible to take a peek at your files regarding my classmates in the academy, specifically the clan heirs." As he considered it, the Hokage rubbed his chin. That is a good idea. I'm sure that the clan heads already warned them about you, but you don't know anything about them," he thought. He opened one of the drawers behind his desk. He produced a folder and tossed it to Naruto, who managed to catch it. As he headed for the door, Naruto said, "Thanks, old man. I'll return this later when I'm done." The Hokage waved his hand for Naruto to keep the folder, saying, "No need. That is my copy from the original files down in the archive, so you can keep it. I'm done going over it." Naruto gave a nod. "Sure thing, Jiji. See you later." Naruto headed to the academy after exiting the Hokage Tower. A few blocks from the Hokage Tower, he could see the 3-story Konoha Academy. Though it doesn't seem like much, he was aware that his mother and father were among the top Konoha names that came from the building. He chose to read the files in his classroom after realizing he was still early. He went into room 201 on the 2nd floor. Since the room was empty, he sat in the back, where he could see everyone well. He sat down after pulling up a chair. He began reading about his peers for the following 3 years after opening the file he had received from the Hokage. His classmates arrived in no time at all. They went into the classroom one by one and chose a seat. While he was largely ignored, some people were staring at him curiously. Apparently, the clan heirs were the ones staring at him. The elderly man was correct. They were undoubtedly aware of him. Akamichi Choji and Nara Shikamaru were the first two to arrive. These two were close to and knew the only girl in the current Ino Shikacho trio, according to the file he read. For his age, Nara Shikamaru is regarded as a genius. Although he lacked physical or chakra strength, he inherited his father's strategic acumen and mental toughness. In his clan, Akamichi Choji is unquestionably the best. Nara was eating a bag of chips when he came in. The Akamichi's passion for food appears to have been a clan trait. According to the file he read, Choji's family's practice of enlarging body parts for combat makes them strength-type shinobi. His tenant noticed this and felt compelled to poke fun at the information. Kyuubi chuckled to himself, I wonder if he can expand that body part of his. Shut up Kyuubi. I so don't need that on my head right now. Spoil sport. He saw the Aburame clan heir enter the room wearing a pair of dark sunglasses and a long white trench coat with a high collar that covered half of his face. Aburame Shino was his name. According to the file he read, the Kikai bugs they carried inside their bodies were protected by the trench coat. It was a reciprocal partnership. While the Aburame would use them in combat, the bugs would consume their chakra. A shy-looking girl in a heavy fur-lined coat was standing behind the Shino. If her eyes were any guide, she was a Hyuga. This was the timid Hyuga clan heiress, Hinata Hyuga. She uses the Jukan style and sophisticated chakra control. Undoubtedly a potent combination, but her lack of self-assurance would hinder her development. Additionally, Naruto saw that Hinata looked at him and flushed. The blonde boy was perplexed by that, but Kyuubi saw it clearly. Kyuubi screamed in silence, blackmail material, so as not to wake his container. The door reopened, revealing Uchiha Sasuke, the lone survivor of the massacre. Naruto was aware of him. The definition of brooding was him. He already knew him well because they had a few encounters and disagreements a few years ago when they were still young, but nothing that made them worthy of friendship. According to the file he read, Sasuke's personality deteriorated after his brother killed his entire clan, leaving him the only survivor. The reason Itachi left him alive was still up for debate. It appears that the child ignored everyone around him in favor of seeking revenge. As the last loyal Uchiha, he was revered by the villagers, and many looked to him to revitalize and restore the Sharingan to the village. In Naruto's books, this made him a little cocky, but he held off on saying anything more until he got to know him here at the academy. He was startled out of his thoughts about Sasuke by a loud bark and a boisterous laughter. He glanced back at the door and saw Kiba, his dog Akamaru, and the Inuzuka heir. His physical prowess and command of his clan's techniques were above average, and his stats appeared promising. While waiting for the class to begin, Naruto rested his head on the table and folded his arms since he could see no other significant individuals were entering. A loud yelling in the room roused him from his slumber. He saw where the noise was coming from and yawned. Haruno Sakura and Yamanaka Ino were fighting over who should sit next to the lone Uchiha. Fangirls appear to have invaded the academy. Though it was years away, Naruto had some hope that they might change in the future. He shuddered to think what would happen if he were put on the team with one of them, or worse, both of them. Inoichi's daughter, Yamanaka Ino, was a mind techniques instructor for the clan. However, Haruno Sakura was the sole daughter of the Haruno merchant family and did not belong to any clan. He recalled the councilman with the pink hair who was so opposed to him receiving his inheritance. Did they warn Sakura about him? He wondered. For now, he will have to watch her. With their incredible intelligence, the two girls chose to sit on either side of Sasuke. He surmised that sitting to Sasuke's right rather than his left had some significance. He simply shook his head at the ridiculousness of it all. Fangirls must be the cause. Naruto was bored. The class was undoubtedly dull, and he was correct. As their teacher Amino Iruka lectured endlessly about Konoha's past in front of the class, Kyuubi was occupied with discussing some of his ideas for using his elemental orbs and chakra manipulation. After history class, the students were told to leave the room and head outside to the training field for a throwing and taijutsu exercise. As advised by the elderly man, Naruto played down his abilities by feigning ignorance of both throwing weapons and taijutsu. He was receiving glares from Mizuki, who oversaw the academy's physical operations, throughout the lesson. He played the oblivious card, choosing to ignore the hatred in his eyes. He saw that Mizuki was giving advice and correcting his opponent during the spars, but he chose not to correct Naruto when he intentionally made a mistake. In Mizuki's eyes, he assumed, he was still the demon. The same thing occurred when throwing shuriken and kunai. He received defective shuriken and kunais, which would hinder his ability to penetrate the targets. He played down his abilities just enough to avoid looking foolish. To allay any suspicions about his actual abilities, he displayed skills that were, at best, mediocre. While on his lunch break, Naruto made a few new friends. He decided to eat his lunch quietly under one of the trees in the area around the academy. Shino was the first to join him, and despite his lack of conversation, he seemed like a soothing presence. Following a quick introduction, they both ate their lunch quietly. Later, Shikamaru and Choji joined them. Both were enjoyable to be around, with the exception that Choji's choice words were exclusively related to food and the Nara was too lazy to even engage in conversation. Shino spoke to him about Bugs in the few words he received. He chose to ask Shino about their clan's relationship with Bugs because he was somewhat curious about it, which caused the child to open his mouth a lot. He discovered that asking Shino about his Bugs was the most effective way to get him to talk. Year 2 of the academy time skip. Naruto is beginning his second year at the academy after completing his first. He became close to Shino, Choji, and Shikamaru. He also got to know Ino a little, but she would turn into a squealing fangirl that made three boys cringe whenever Sasuke showed up. He and Shikamaru got along well, and they spent most of their time playing shogi, in which he was consistently soundly defeated. The best of his time was with Choji. Their close friendship was strengthened by the spontaneous ramen eating contest. There are currently two of the best customers at the Ichiraku ramen stand. He met Akamaru and Kiba as well. When the man wasn't boasting about his abilities, he liked him. However, he got along well with Akamaru. He was at odds with the Uchiha, and consequently with Haruno Sakura, his favorite fangirl. He thought it was a terrible idea to display his abilities somewhat to match Sasuke, but there was nothing he could do about it at the moment. He made it a point to match Sasuke's skills for skills rather than outclass him. As a result, he was named Rookie of the Year and gained the affection of both Sakura and Sasuke. Sakura detested him because the girl believed he should be less powerful than her crush, while Sasuke hated him because someone was as strong as him. Fangirls must be adored. He and Sasuke were complete opposites in the academy. Although he avoided everyone, including his fangirls, Sasuke was a brooding emo who didn't achieve the success he desired because his brooding demeanor appealed to them. On the other hand, Naruto was amiable to everyone. He made an effort to be amiable, which his peers appreciated. He ate lunch with them, assisted them with their schoolwork, and even spent time with them after school. Simply put, everyone adored Naruto because he was gregarious and approachable, but they adored Sasuke because of his size. To begin their lessons on chakra and ninjutsu, the class was once more in the training yard. The instructors gave demonstrations of how hand seals functioned and how to properly channel chakra to prevent waste. To Naruto's amusement, they briefly discussed chakra exercises but did not put them into practice. To the delight of the clan heirs, Mizuki and Iruka were teaching the class to perform jutsus that they were familiar with. However, Shikamaru found the entire situation problematic. Because of his friend's indolence, Naruto rolled his eyes. He kept a close eye on the demonstration. Undoubtedly, the clan heirs received training in their family's methods. Choji expanded his body size, transformed into a ball, and rolled across the yard to show off his family technique. When Shino let his bugs loose, the girls there let out a lot of screams. Akamaru was given a pill by Kiba that made him into a massive red dog that was an exact replica of Kiba, complete with fangs and claws. With the exception of their family Jukan style, Hinata's clan prohibited ninjutsu, so she didn't practice it. However, she showed the rest of the class how to channel chakra to her fingers, which caused many of them to stare in amazement. To everyone's delight, Shikamaru used his shadow to trap Iruka and Mizuki and forced them to dance around. Ino used her mind control skills to take over Iruka's body. Sakura's chakra control allowed her to execute the henge and bunshin flawlessly. There is no interest. But it was the Uchiha that caused his fangirls to squeal and the crowd to give him some shocked looks. Moving to the center of the field, he performed a few hand seals before launching a massive fireball that left a burning stump in the place of one of the training dummies. Naruto found it unimpressive, but everyone else found it impressive. When Mizuki called his turn, he snapped out of his reverie. Mizuki sneered as he called out, "Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto." Naruto chose to ignore him. Naruto waited for orders after moving to the center of the training area. "Naruto, I want you to perform some ninjutsus that you know in front of the class." Perplexed by the directions, Naruto tilted his head to the side. All of the students in the class except Naruto's friends laughed when Mizuki said, "Mizuki-sensei, I don't know any ninjutsu." "Don't tell me that the famed son of the Yondaime doesn't know any techniques," said Mizuki. With composure, Naruto told his teacher, I didn't say I didn't know any techniques, I just said that I can't do any ninjutsus. Mizuki was challenged, well, show us these techniques that you know. Naruto simply shrugged and didn't appear excited, but his inner state was very different. When they see what he can do, he will undoubtedly love the expression on their face. The elemental orbs materialized as he turned to face the training dummy and activated his Kamagen. In an attempt to have some fun, Naruto willed the elemental orbs to move in a protective manner around his body. He directed the lightning orb to strike by pointing his hand at the training dummy. It blasted the wooden dummy to pieces with a jet of crackling lightning. He kept the Kamagen activated and turned to face his peers, nodding to himself for a job well done. Their faces had a priceless expression. Everyone was staring in wonder and amazement at him. Naruto has never before shown them such a talent. His classmates were so impressed that they had dozens of questions they wanted to ask the blonde. Sakura kept telling Ino that Sasuke's performance was superior, while Sasuke was furious about the impressive display and believed that he should have the ability to use such a technique to become stronger. Iruka was taken aback by what Naruto had done, and Mizuki was furious. The question that was on everyone's mind was first asked by him. Iruka yelled, "What in the world was that?" Naruto calmly turned to Iruka and gave an explanation. He pointed to his eyes and said, "That was my family bloodline, Iruka-sensei. This is the Kamagen, the Namikaze Uzumaki Dujutsu, and these floating orbs are called elemental orbs. They appear when my Kamagen is activated. It gives me complete control over the elements. I can will them to attack and defend without hand seals. That is the reason why I told you I can't do ninjutsu. I don't need hand seals for my techniques to work. All I need to do is to control the elements and let it do what I want." Everyone was in awe. In all their lives, they have not witnessed such a remarkable performance. If Naruto's statement is accurate, this is essentially Konoha's most powerful bloodline, surpassing even the Sharingan and Byakugan. But, there was no record of the Yondaime having such bloodline. Iruka sighed. Naruto gave a nod. Actually, my Kamagen is a combination of both my parents' genes. You see, my mother Uzumaki Kushina possesses a bloodline that allows her to manipulate chakra. It seems that the addition of my father's genes triggered an evolution that gave me my Kamagen. He was lying. He didn't need to explain to them that his ability was a result of Kyuubi. In addition, he concealed his ability to manipulate chakras, which he used as a backup plan in case of emergency. That is amazing, Naruto. But can it do anything else? Iruka responded. Once more, Naruto nodded. He closed his eyes and put his hands in his pockets, saying, "Yes. I can control my elemental orbs to attack and defend. But on a subconscious level, they can automatically protect me if I was attacked." He challenged everyone, saying, "Why don't you attack me? I won't move from this spot." Iruka looked at his suggestion with disbelief. "Are you sure, Naruto?" Eyes still closed and in a relaxed position, he said, "Sure, Iruka-sensei, go ahead." Unexpectedly, Sasuke and Mizuka wasted no time. Without regret, they hurled a flurry of kunais and shurikens at Naruto. Both were positioned across from Naruto, essentially enclosing him in a pincer attack from which he could not escape. They were too fast for Iruka to stop. They were more shocked by what they saw, though. Sensing the attacks, the elemental orbs came to a halt. A powerful gust of wind from the wind orb threw the kunai's Mizuki off course and struck the startled teacher in the head, knocking him to the ground. A wall of water stopped Sasuke's shuriken barrage in its tracks. After realizing that range attacks were ineffective, they both hurried over to Naruto with the intention of defeating him with simple taijutsu. Rising atop Naruto's head, the fire orb emitted a stream of fire to shield its master and successfully stop the two from advancing. Across the field, Naruto's eyes remained relaxed and closed. The incredible display left everyone speechless. Naruto wanted this charade to end, so he gave the wind orb instructions to release a strong wind gust around him, knocking Sasuke and Mizuki back. Iruka gaped at Naruto as he opened his eyes. Calmly and privately amused by everyone's response to his abilities, Naruto asked, "Was that enough of a demonstration, sensei?" Kyuubi was giggling uncontrollably in his head. Iruka simply gave a silly nod without saying anything. Grinning at him, Naruto walked off the training field in the direction of his friends. He was immediately confronted by a crazed Sakura. "What did you do, Naruto Baka? How dare you attack Sasuke-kun?" Sakura yelled. The indolent Shikamaru beat Naruto to the punch just as he was about to respond calmly to her. "Shut up, you troublesome girl. Naruto didn't attack your beloved Sasuke. If you noticed, they attacked him first without any provocation. Naruto was just standing there and defended himself. Troublesome girl. Iruka interrupted Sakura as she was about to scream at Shikamaru for interfering. Shikamaru was right, Sakura. It was a demonstration, so there was no foul play. But, Sakura stumbled. Iruka ushered everyone back into the classroom to resume the day's lessons after saying, "Enough. Naruto didn't attack Sasuke, so that's enough out of you." Naruto was happy with the outcome. Naruto, who is now 12 years old like the rest of his peers, made it through the 3 years he spent in the academy. Although he didn't learn much at shinobi school, he was able to get better at studying on his own in his free time. Naruto concentrated more on chakra control and physical training during his 3 years at the academy. He has been working hard for years, but his chakra manipulation is still giving him trouble. Nonetheless, he became proficient in both his chakra claws for his fox fist style and his chakra blade for his kenjutsu. His current weight is 250 pounds, and Kyuubi suggested that he keep it that way for 5 months. Since he appears to be approaching puberty, he must continue lifting weights to prevent impeding any future growth spurts. Additionally, Naruto spent his leisure time at the academy learning about his summons. He discovered that his summons had a unique area of expertise. Since the tigers were adept at controlling the wind, different tigers in the clan were ideal for attacking big crowds. The Phoenix clan were adept at using fire as a medium for teleportation, making them ideal messengers. Additionally, Naruto spent a lot of time flying with medium-sized summons because he thought it was an interesting experience. The Dragon clan was a lightning and water mastery. They are ideal for defensive tactics due to their proficiency in the water. Attacks are the primary use of their lightning. Although Naruto was anxious when flying with the Dragon clan, they are also capable of flying. He's not sure why, but he felt anxious when flying without wings. Additionally, he discovered that when the legendary summons were initially granted to the elemental nations, they were clan-specific. The Uzumaki clan was granted the dragon summoning contract at the time of its establishment. The Uchiha clan was initially granted the Phoenix clan contract, which was based in Konoha. They became a prodigy of the fire element because of their ties to the Phoenix clan, which integrated the element into their genes. Suzaku was questioned by Naruto about why the Uchiha family had lost the contract. Because the clan had strayed from her teachings, the boss summon clarified, she had cancelled her agreement with them. For her, they became too power-hungry. Since she was certain that Kushina had taken the Phoenix clan contract away from Konoha and concealed it from elemental nations until a deserving summoner was found, she was unsure of how Kushina obtained it. The Fuma clan in Grass Country was granted the Tiger clan's proficiency with wind. The contract was lost when the clan suffered from invasion and clan wars, but Byako was unaware of the specifics. Furthermore, he had no idea how Kushina discovered the contract. They hypothesized, however, that because they were her guardians, Kami had jurisdiction over the legendary summons, which is how Kushina was able to locate the contracts with her help. The loss of Genbu's contract was also mentioned by the other three. Although Genbu was Earth's protector, no clan had been able to call him thus far, and the elemental nations had never heard of the contract. Naruto was eager to finish the day because it was the day of the graduation exam. He was confident that he would do exceptionally well on the tests. Although he could easily defeat Sasuke, he was tied with him for Rookie of the Year, but he refrained from doing so because he had promised the old man that he would reduce his skill set. As the door to their classroom opened, Iruka and Mizuki both walked in with a stack of papers. Before everyone quieted down, Iruka yelled over the commotion. He took a few deep breaths to clear his lungs before speaking to the students. "I am proud with all of you for getting to this stage of your shinobi training. Today is the graduation exam consisting of 3 parts. First is the written exam. Everyone groaned, but Naruto, who detested written tests, moaned the most. Second is the taijutsu challenge where you will be having a full-out spar. The pairs will be randomly selected by Mizuki. Last but not the least is the ninjutsu exam. You will be asked to perform 3 of the basic academy techniques, namely the bunshin, kawarimi, and henge. Additional credits will be given to those who can perform elemental ninjutsus. Any questions?" Iruka looked around to determine whether his pupils had any inquiries. When he saw none, he told the pupils to remain seated while Mizuki distributed the written exam. Naruto was certain that he would ace the hour-long written portion of the graduation exam. For the taijutsu section of the test, they were all taken to the training group. Mizuki announced the spars pairs after verifying their attendance. Kiba and a random student faced off in the first match. When Kiba used his superior speed to land a powerful punch that knocked out his opponent, the bout was swiftly over. Shino exhausted his opponent with a series of simple attacks and then used one of his bugs to drain his chakra. He won, of course. With a well-placed Jukan strike that rendered her opponent incapacitated, Hinata won her match with ease. Ino experienced the same thing, with the exception that she used a flurry of punches and kicks to defeat her opponent. Her persistence impressed Naruto. The person who shocked him the most was Sakura. It would appear that the girl with the pink hair had some secrets she was not aware of. She was able to subconsciously channel some chakra into her punches, which were powerful enough to blow her opponent away, thanks to her nearly flawless chakra control. After some sparring, Shoji's opponent turned into a huge rolling mass of destruction, frightening his partner out of the ring. Using his clan's shadow neckbind, Shikamaru also vanquished his opponent and made him forfeit. The match wasn't exactly a traditional taijutsu match. Shika ended the fight in record time by using his clan jutsu, apparently because he was too lazy to even engage in combat. When Sasuke's name was called and they were told to take their places, Naruto was growing tired of the different matches. Given that the majority of the clan heirs were paired off with non-clan students, Naruto arched an eyebrow in response. Mizuki apparently wanted Sasuke to defeat him. This was simply too good to ignore. Sasuke strode haughtily to the other side of the training field while Naruto entered the ring calmly in the center. Sasuke was beaming maniacally, while Naruto appeared bored by the entire situation. Mizuki signaled the start of the game. When Sasuke said, "I will show you that you're inferior to me, Dobi," the fangirls squealed and gave him a hard-eye look. At his conceit, the boys simply rolled their eyes. Naruto said, "Whatever, Uchiha-san." He yawned slightly to let everyone know he was bored. Seeing that Naruto wasn't paying attention to him, Sasuke became enraged. Sasuke entered the interceptor style of Uchiha Taijutsu. Naruto recognized this from the scroll that belonged to his mother. The interceptor style was developed specifically to enhance the Sharingan's abilities. While the Sharingan imitates and recognizes the opponent's style, the style itself was employed as a defensive stance. Then, swift strikes are employed to sneak up on the opponent and deliver a devastating blow. Although this would have been a good plan, Sharingan's absence rendered it all but pointless. Naruto smiled at this and used his Fox Fist style, which left everyone perplexed as he had never displayed this particular taijutsu technique before. Sasuke grinned and ran at Chunin level speed in Naruto's direction after noticing his unconventional fighting stance. With a simple flick of his wrist, Naruto easily swept aside the punch he had released. Then Sasuke leapt and whirled around to strike Naruto's head with an axe kick. In an attempt to block the attack, Naruto crossed his arms above his head, but Sasuke used his momentum to turn around and punch Naruto in the stomach. When Naruto noticed the feint, he sprang back in time to dodge the blow and delivered a sidekick that sent Sasuke sprawling to the ground after striking him in the stomach. Sasuke clenched his teeth and launched another assault, this time launching a flurry of kicks and punches that Naruto either swept aside or blocked. When Naruto noticed that Sasuke was becoming careless with his attacks, he launched an upward swipe with his clawed hands, which Sasuke narrowly avoided by raising his head, preventing him from seeing Naruto's subsequent punch to the stomach, which caused him to double over in agony. Seething, Sasuke ran back to get some distance away from Naruto. The Dobi's unidentified style easily outmatched and countered his clan's style, which infuriated him. The dark-haired teenager was not pleased by this. He blurred through a series of hand seals that culminated in a tiger seal after realizing that taijutsu was not an option. He inhaled deeply before launching a massive ball of fire in the direction of his adversary. Grand Fireball is the fire style. Sasuke's decision to use ninjutsu rather than a traditional taijutsu match startled Naruto. When he saw the huge ball of fire hurtling in his direction, he swiftly used Shunshin to dodge the flaming missile. He returned to his fighting stance after appearing a few feet to Sasuke's right. After observing Naruto's ability to evade his attack, Sasuke performed additional hand seals. Style of fire. Phoenix flower with incredible speed, he blasted a series of tiny fireballs at the blonde. When Naruto noticed the impending attack, he understood that he could not dodge it. His fellow classmates behind him would undoubtedly bear the brunt of the criticism if he did. In order to block the attack, he used his Kamagen to create a wall of water, which put out all of the fireballs that struck it. Naruto let go of his water orb and used the wind orb to release a compressed air jet that blew Sasuke off the ring after all of the fireballs had vanished. Naruto made the decision to stop the fight before the raging boy killed someone. In order to electrocute Sasuke and cause him to faint, he willed his lightning orb to release a low-voltage lightning attack. Iruka declared a match to be Naruto's victory. As he told Mizuki to take Sasuke to the infirmary to be checked out, Iruka ordered everyone to return to the classroom. Since they are unable to continue with the remaining exams because one of their students is not functioning, he called for an hour-long break. As she waited for Sasuke to return from the hospital, Iruka was furious. His dark-haired pupil was perfectly healthy, save for a mild shock that made his body shut down. Some of the doctors treated him like a martyr and showered him with enough medical jutsu to even replenish his chakra reserves, even though a simple medical jutsu was sufficient to wake him up. After that second attack, Naruto acted decisively, which pleased Iruka. He saw that if Naruto had chosen to flee, some of the students would have been hurt by the fireballs that Sasuke had released. In order to keep his classmates safe, his blonde students made a water defense to put out the fireball and stop the fight before it got out of hand. He called for the class to calm down so they could complete the remaining tests after taking a deep breath to help him relax. Naruto was awaiting his turn to test his 3 basic academy jutsus following the chaos in the training field. The blonde was perplexed by the reactions that resulted from his brief relationship with Sasuke. The boys were staring at him in wonder and a little terror. After all, he used just one jutsu to defeat Sasuke and avoided being struck by the flurry of deadly fire techniques that were directed at him. Some of the girls were looking at Naruto with gratitude and appreciation, particularly the ones who had nearly been struck by Sasuke's fireballs. He was receiving an evil glare from the ardent Sasuke fangirls. Mizuki was glaring at him with hatred, but Iruka was staring at him with pride. The plan Mizuki had to have Sasuke beat him to a bloody pulp didn't work out. The worst part is that since Sasuke was also using his clan's style, he is unable to disqualify the boy for using a non-academy taijutsu technique. The same is true of the jutsus that were intended to be excluded from that section of the test. When Sasuke walked into the classroom, Iruka called everyone to a halt. With the exception of his bruised ego, it appears that his defeat at Naruto's hands was appropriately healed. He glared at Naruto, who calmly returned the hateful look. Iruka yelled at him to return to his seat so they could begin the next section of the test. He took a sheaf of paper from the pile on his table and read from it. "Okay, everyone. Congratulations on those who passed the exam so far. Before we proceed with the ninjutsu part of the exam, I will be releasing the scores for the written test. Let me see, for the written exam, the highest score goes to Uchiha Sasuke." Sasuke took a smug look at everyone, and his fan club let out a loud squeal. Sasuke's arrogant expression changed to a glare as he said, "And Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, who both got a perfect score on the written portion of the exam. Followed by Aburame Shino and then by Shikamaru Nara. Congratulations. Any questions?" Iruka responded. The majority of the boys winced as Sakura yelled, "Sensei! Naruto Baka must have cheated because it is impossible for him to be tied with Sasuke-kun." Iruka gave her a long look and said, "Are you saying that I, a Chunin, am incapable of identifying my students who are cheating on Sakura?" No sensei, but it is impossible. He must have cheated somehow without you finding out about it," Sakura continued. This time, he glared at Sakura, effectively cutting off any further complaints she might have had. "Well, you're wrong, Sakura. 1. It is impossible to cheat because we are closely monitoring every single student. 2. Naruto's record has been consistent for the past 3 years, so his cheating right now would be stupid. If there aren't any more questions, then let me continue. Everyone who won passed the exam for the taijutsu portion, but Mizuki and I took points away from both Nara Shikamaru and Uchiha Sasuke for the obvious use of ninjutsu when it was only a taijutsu-only exam." The Uchiha fan club let out a loud cry in response to this announcement, but Iruka quickly silenced them. Nara used his family jutsu to disable the opponent and forced him to forfeit, which is against the rules, but we gave him leeway on this since it is a sound strategy. However, Sasuke's deduction was caused for the blatant disregard of the rules by using an attack-based jutsu. Sakura grumbled, "But sensei, Naruto also used his freakish technique during the match." "True, he did. I don't know if you noticed, but Sasuke's fireballs were in direct collision with some of the students, which might have killed them if Naruto didn't act with his technique. I saw this as a decisive action on his part, so I didn't mark him down with deductions." Sakura complained, "That's so unfair." "No, it's not. So you think that Sasuke should get away in hurting his peers? I think not. Now shut up and let me continue. Now, the next part of the exam is the ninjutsu portion. You will be called one by one to demonstrate the 3 basic academy jutsus, namely the henge, kawarimi, and bunshin. He then called their names, and they all followed his instructions to execute the techniques. While some failed, others succeeded. All of the clan heirs passed, Naruto saw. Even if everyone did as well as Sasuke, he would still pass with ease and give them a smug look. Naruto moved to the front of the classroom and waited for the signal to continue when his name was called. Iruka gave the order, "Okay Naruto, I want you to do a bunshin first." Iruka-sensei, does it have to be the normal bunshin or can I perform other versions of it? Replied Naruto. His enormous chakra reserves, which prevent him from producing the typical illusionary bunshin, were one of the reasons he learned the shadow clone. Iruka was taken aback by the inquiry. Another bunshin that Naruto knew? He must see this. Yes. As long as it is a bunshin then it is acceptable. Without wasting any time, Naruto executed the Kage Bushin without using any hand seals. Beside him, two flawless clones of Naruto materialized. All three were grinning broadly at Iruka. Very good Naruto. Now I want you to perform the henge by turning into the Hokage. After a puff of smoke, Naruto resembled the third Hokage in every way, including the smoke and pipe. Before reverting to his former form, he gave Iruka a cheeky smile that didn't belong on the Hokage's face. Naruto nodded and followed the instructions perfectly. Perfect as always Naruto. Now I want you to substitute yourself with the log in the corner. With pride at the performance, Iruka nodded. He handed Naruto his Hite 8, which Naruto accepted with pleasure and fastened to his left bicep. Congratulations, Naruto, you have graduated in flying colors. Here is your Hite 8 to commemorate your rank as a genin of Konoha. He returned to his seat after bowing to Iruka, ignoring the angry glances that Sasuke and his other fans were giving him. I would like to congratulate everyone who graduated and received their Hite 8. Those who passed are required to return here tomorrow morning for their team assignments. Dismissed. The end of the day pleased Naruto. After saying goodbye to everyone, he abruptly vanished in a flash of flame that startled everyone in the room. In a pillar of flame, Naruto emerged in his training yard. It was one of his distinctive signatures of Shunshin. High-speed teleportation. He discovered that elemental teleportation was automatically added to his infinite control over the elements. He only had to choose which element to use, and that was it. Since today is a big day for him, he didn't stay in the academy for very long after the graduation exam. He was supposed to receive his gifts from his summons today. In fact, he agreed that no human should ever be granted such power, so he didn't regret turning down their offers of training and techniques. Either people would hunt him down to take such power for themselves, or it would corrupt him, which he doubted. Furthermore, he already possesses the strongest Biju in his stomach, so no, he doesn't require any additional. Thank you very much. He was thinking about the presents he would be getting from the 3 legendary summons as he made his way to the middle of the training yard. They were implying that he would undoubtedly require them for the trials in the future, so he knew it would have to do with the battle. To clear his mind and get ready to face the bosses, he shook his head and inhaled deeply. When he reached the training area, he closed his eyes to aid in his relaxation. He needed to calm down before he messed up because he was excited about the prospect of getting strong gifts from the legendary creatures. In order to call forth the 3 creatures, he collected the necessary chakra and directed it into the tattoos on his right arm. After a great deal of smoke, Byako, Suzaku, and Seryu appeared before him in all their splendor. This time, he decided to forego his customary childish greeting and treat them with the deference they deserved after noticing how formal their individual stances were. He lowered his head. Seryu-sama, Suzaku-sama, Byako-sama. As requested, I have summoned you as you requested 3 years ago, stated Naruto informally. Indeed, young one. I see that you have grown strong and stayed true to your goals and ways. It is time for you to receive our gifts. Seryu replied. Admirable Naruto-kun. I don't sense any greed from you despite the fact you will be receiving gifts from us. I admire your pure heart. It will serve you well, Suzaku exclaimed with pride. Well, what do you know? The brat did graduate from the academy and has become a shinobi of the leaf. I guess you won the bet this time, Seryu? So Naruto, are you ready to receive our gifts? Replied Byako. He gave Byako a cheeky smile that he knew would annoy the white bag of fur because he could no longer contain his hidden child. Byako snarled, Hi Furball-sama. Ready and waiting. Cheeky brat. I'll go first, so brat, hold out your hand. When Naruto followed instructions, a white sheeted odachi materialized on his hand's palm. The sword he was holding was so beautiful that he gasped. The sword was white all over. It was an artistic creation, the Suka itself. Instead of the typical fish skin grip found on most katana-type weapons, it had a white cloth grip. The pommel, which was undoubtedly Byako's likeness, was made to resemble a roaring tiger. Gold was used to make the tsuba. He firmly grasped the handle and the sheath, then slowly withdrew the blade. The blade was made of a metal he had never seen before, and it was completely white. In fact, he didn't believe that white metals existed at all, so this was truly unusual. In general, the Odachi was taller than him and had a lovely appearance. Byako stopped studying the blade intently. I see that you liked my gift. It is called Kazahime, Wind Princess. It is the prized blade of the Tiger Clan and now it belongs to you. Its abilities would serve you well in battle. What abilities? Naruto inquired, his gaze fixed on the exquisite blade. As you may have noticed, the blade itself is made of metal not available in this world. It is indestructible and can match any blow without fear of breaking. The metal is conductive so you can easily channel your chakra through it to strengthen your strikes. However, Kazahime's abilities do not lie on its physical attributes but the blessings I have bestowed upon it. The blade itself is made from my own fang and has the ability to control wind much like your bloodline ability. Your control over it is similar to that of how you manipulate your elemental orbs. The sword is already attuned to you so you might notice that despite its size, you were able to hold it comfortably and I'm sure that you can handle it like a seasoned swordsman. Explained Byako. With a determined and amazed voice, Naruto declared, "It is a priceless gift, Byako-sama. I will cherish it always and wield it with honor." Naruto followed the instructions and was shocked when the sword vanished in a cloud of smoke. "I know you will, brat. Now I want you to sheath the sword and hold it in your right hand, then channel chakra to my tattoo." He turned to Byako for clarification. "Don't worry, kid. The sword is now in your summoning tattoo. I know it is too big for you to lug around all the time, so storing it for safekeeping in your tattoo makes it possible to bring it around with you without hindering your movement. To summon the sword, all you have to do is think about the sword when you channel chakra to your tattoo. You can summon it sheathed or unsheathed. All you have to do is to think about it." Naruto decided to practice using this new ability after being taken aback by the revelation. Thinking of the Odachi that was not yet sheathed, he directed his chakra towards the tiger tattoo, and it effortlessly materialized in his grasp. This will undoubtedly give you an advantage in combat. The idea of using his new weapon made him ecstatic. With childlike enthusiasm, Naruto glanced at the other summons and put the Odachi back to the tattoo. "My turn. I have already given you my gift Naruto-kun, but it is currently in its unlocked state. When I gave you my tattoo, I took the liberty of changing your Kamagen and giving it another ability. You already know that I was the summon of the Uchiha clan, correct?" Naruto gave a nod. "Good, now I am familiar with how the Sharingan works. I can't hope to copy its exact ability and give it to you, but I gave you the next best thing. I have improved your Kamagen so you will be able to see better in a sense. The Sharingan involved a much improved eyesight that allows them to see everything in slow motion. This will aid you much in your battles. Just be warned, even if you see your opponent doesn't mean that you can match them. You still need to train your body to coincide with your eye's new ability," Suzaku clarified. Naruto gave a nod. It is a welcome addition to have his new Kamagen ability. To maximize this gift, he promised to train twice as hard. "Now for me, child. I would have offered you the position as a dragon sage and all the powers and benefits that it entails, but you chose another path that was also welcome, so I will give you a gift instead. Like Suzaku, I have added another ability to the tattoo I gave you that I just unlocked. I gave you a minor version of the dragon skin that is common in my clan. Your skin now is harder and can withstand blows that would easily wound you. Be warned that this does not make you invincible. It is a minor gift compared to what the dragons have, but it will add to your defense just in case if some of the attacks manage to enter your guard," replied Seryu. Thanking him for the warning, Naruto nodded. Byako bid them farewell with the words, "Well, that's it for now. See you later, brat." In a great puff of smoke, the three boss summons returned to the summon realm. Office of Hokage Tower. The Junans, who offered to take in teams from this year's academy batch, were meeting with Hiruzen Sarutobi. Each of the attendees was regarded as an elite in the field, contributing to the overall strength of Konoha's military by passing on their unique set of skills to the next generation. Hitaki Kakashi, Sarutobi Asuma, and Kurenai Yuhi were among the Junans who stood out from the others. Former Anbu captain Hitaki Kakashi was known as Sharingan no Kakashi throughout the elemental nations. He received his left Sharingan eye from his deceased teammate Obito. Despite not having any Uchiha ancestry, he was able to make the most of the Dujutsu and earned the moniker Copy Ninja Kakashi because it was said that he copied more than 1,000 jutsu to expand his already impressive collection. His own son, Sarutobi Asuma, was one of the 12 Fire Guardians, the Daimyo's Guard. He accepted the role of Junan and retired from the position. He is Fire Country's only wind user and possessed unparalleled trench knife skills. Lastly, Konoha's genjutsu mistress, Kurenai Yuhi, was skilled in the illusionary arts. Although she lacked proficiency in both taijutsu and ninjutsu, her achievements in genjutsu earned her a promotion to Junan and a number of other accolades during her time in the field. The Hokage was, to put it mildly, proud. He thought that by making the current generation the strongest in the country, these Junans would secure Konohagakure no Sato's future. Everyone's attention was successfully captured when the Hokage said, "Thank you all for coming. We have much to discuss." Everyone nodded when I said, "I think you all know why I have called you here. Good. I will now accept recommendations for this year's batch of genin teams that will be under your wing. Kakashi, why don't you go first?" Kakashi nodded, looking up from the orange book he was reading. He saw Kurenai's glare before putting it in his pocket. In a slack voice, Kakashi said, "Hokage-sama, I would like to ask your permission to place Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura, and Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto on my team." The Hokage studied him for a long moment. "What is your reason for creating this team, Kakashi? From the overall stats, this would make your team a powerhouse. I don't think that hogging all three of the brightest in this year's academy would be fair to the rest of the Junin senseis. I believe, Hokage-sama, that this team will be a great frontline team in the future. Each of their abilities grants plenty of potential not seen since the Sannin under your tutelage." The Hokage demanded, "Explain." Kakashi gave nod. "Let's start first with Uchiha Sasuke, that is said to be the prodigy among this year's batch. I believe that I am the only one who can teach him once he awakened his Sharingan. This will require a lot of work since according to his file, his mentality is a bit skewed after the Uchiha massacre. If I am able to change his views, then he will become a great asset to the village." Everyone gave a nod. They were aware of Sasuke's radical transformation following the murder of his clan in front of him. They are unable to deny what Kakashi has taught the boy. Observing their expressions, Kakashi went on. "Next is Haruno Sakura. According to her academy file, she has a great mind that would help her well as a kunoichi of Konoha. Her excellent chakra control make her a candidate for either a genjutsu or as a medic nin. However, what stood out is her unconscious ability to channel chakra to her attacks, similar to that of Tsunade of the Sannin. The only drawback to this is her fangirlish tendency." Everyone was weeping. Nobody in the room can dispute Sakura's ardent devotion to Sasuke. "Anyway, I believe I can knock some sense into her and make her into one of Konoha's finest. Last, but certainly not the least, is one Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. His skills is on par with Sasuke, but we all know for a fact that he was downplaying his skills upon your request to avoid alerting his enemies. With his bloodline ability and early training, he will be a fine addition to the powerhouse team that I'm planning to create. Also, I was hoping that his calm and mature attitude would become an influence to both his teammates," stated Kakashi. After considering the possibility of such a team, the Hokage conceded that Kakashi's assessment and prediction were plausible. It's true that a lot of work is needed to correct the imbalance brought about by Sasuke's arrogant demeanor and Sakura's fangirl tendencies, but he was sure Kakashi could manage it. At last, he nodded and made some notes on the paper before him. He looked around and saw that the other Junins simply shook their heads, so he said, "I will accept your request, Kakashi, as long as no one disagrees." "Good. Team 7 will now be under Hitaki Kakashi to be trained as frontliners." Asuma was the one who spoke this time. "I would like to request the current Ino Shikacho trio to be placed under my leadership. I am planning to turn them into a capture and information gathering unit." "Your reasons?" Sarutobi inquired. "Simple, really. Out of all the Junins here, I have the most experience with the legendary Ino Shikacho teamwork, and I'm confident that I can train them well with their individual abilities. The Nara's shadow techniques are useful in capturing his opponents without resorting to lengthy battles. The Akamichi would be useful as a support. The Yamanaka girl is talented in gathering information because of their clan's mind invasion techniques," Asuma responded. The Hokage gave a nod. "Anyone disagree?" Was met with a negative headshake from everyone. "Asuma, you will get Team 10 with the current Ino Shikacho trio as your genins. Kurenai? I would request for the formation of a tracker and hunter team composed of Aburame Shino, Hyuga Hinata, and Inazuka Kiba. Each have their own individual skills that can easily be an asset to the tracking and hunting team that I am planning to form," declared Kurenai with a powerful yet melodious voice. The Hokage was thinking along the same lines as her, so he accepted her proposal right away. Kurenai nodded, pleased with her team. "Agreed. You will take command of this team and train them well to be expert trackers. You now have Team 8 composed of Aburame, Hyuga, and Inuzuka. I think that takes care of everything. Anything else? No? Then you're all dismissed. Please report to the academy at 9 a.m. tomorrow to meet your genin teams. Every Junan in the room yelled, "Hi Hokage-sama," and then departed. The Hokage retrieved his reliable pipe from one of his drawers, lit it, and took a long drag. Things are going to start getting interesting soon, especially with you around, Naruto-kun. Uzumaki Namikaze compound. Naruto was sweating profusely in the training yard. He practiced his new weapon, Kazahime, by running it through in his mother's kenjutsu style as soon as the boss summons left. He discovered that the weapon was a perfect fit for him. Its size and weight go well with the fundamental katas he had previously practiced using his chakra blade. It was easy to incorporate the odachi into his stance because he had already practiced mid-range attacks with a lengthened chakra blade. He channeled chakra into the odachi as he danced from one kata to the next, and he was astounded when the blade released a tiny but noticeable greenish aura that demonstrated the strength of the wind chakra that covered it. As he hurried to one of the training dummies in the field, he dragged the blade by his side and assumed a stance, holding the odachi in both hands. He successfully cut the dummy in half, from lower hip to shoulder, with a quick upward slash. After concluding that he had practiced enough for the day, he put Kazahime back into his tattoo and went straight home to change before continuing his studies at the library. 4 hours later, when the alarm seal alerted him to the presence of someone outside the gates, he was pulled from his reading. With haste, he shut the scroll and teleported outside to meet his visitor. One of the Hokage's personal Anbu was waiting for him when he opened the gate. Naruto said, "What can I do for you, Anbu-san?" "Namikaze-sama." The Hokage asked for your presence in his office immediately. "There is an emergency," stated the Anbu. With a nod, Naruto exited the gate, put his hands in one of the wall seals, and released a small amount of chakra. A metallic click indicated that the compound was secure and locked as the door slid shut. He nodded after glancing at the Anbu that was waiting. To get to the Hokage's office more quickly, they teleported straight there. Hokage Office, Hokage Tower. Naruto materialized as a pillar of flame in front of the Hokage. He noticed the elderly man behind his desk, frowning broadly, reading a report. "What's wrong, Jiji?" Naruto inquired. The Hokage said gravely, "Ah, Naruto-kun. I apologize for calling you here at such short notice, but we have an emergency on our hands that needs to be addressed." This made Naruto a little concerned about the possible catastrophes. Naruto stated once more, "So what's the problem?" "Your father's possession, the forbidden scroll of sealing that holds the secrets of Konoha forbidden techniques, was stolen from this office. We don't have the identity of the thief as of yet, but according to the seals in the room, the intruder was able to disarm the protection that surrounded it. I was able to find out immediately that it was stolen when one of my hidden personal alarms warned me that someone entered my office without me knowing about it," stated the Hokage. The news made Naruto tense. "Then we need to get it back. Have the Anbu been told yet?" "Yes, I already dispatched the Anbu 2 hours ago, but so far they haven't found any trace of our thief. I was thinking maybe you can help with the search with one of your abilities." Naruto said, "Don't worry, Jiji. I'll help you out." He summoned his personal friend by channeling a small amount of chakra to his tiger tattoo. The shadowed Anbu was frightened when a huge white tiger materialized next to Naruto in a puff of smoke. The tiger was enormous by most people's standards. They were undoubtedly on edge when they were in the same room as one because of its intimidating appearance, which included sharp claws and fangs. "Sorry for calling you at this time of the night, Kagetora, but we have a situation on our hands." The now named Tiger Summon asked. "No need to worry, Naruto-sama. I'm happy of service anytime and anywhere. What seems to be the problem?" "The forbidden scroll of sealing was stolen from this very office a few hours ago. Can you sniff around to get the scent of the intruder so we can follow it?" replied Naruto. "Done, Naruto-sama." The tiger snarled. He sniffed here and there as he moved around the room. When the tiger approached too closely, the hidden ANBUs tensed up a little, but when it moved away, they relaxed. Before the tiger turned to face Naruto, this continued for a few more minutes. "Naruto-sama. I have caught the scent." "You were right. The scent is almost 2 hours old and it seems to be going into the direction of the forest outside of Konoha walls," told Kagetora. After giving a nod, Naruto turned to face the Hokage. Naruto walked to the window and got ready to leave, saying, "I'm going to follow the intruder, Jiji. Are you coming along?" "No, but I'll send 2 of my ANBUs to follow you." After giving a nod, Naruto leapt out the window, trailing the tiger that had already passed him. The pursuit was underway. Forest outside Konoha. The thief was quickly located by Naruto and Kagetora. They paused at a tree branch that overlooked a clearing with a small, dilapidated shack. Mizuki was slowly approaching him with a kunai, and a boy he recognized as one of his classmates who had failed the exam was holding a scroll to his chest on the clearing. Naruto wasted no time in crafting a kunai from chakra and hurling it in Mizuki's direction. Mizuki was able to avoid the lethal projectile after spotting the abrupt spike in chakra. Mizuki yelled as he turned to face the direction from which the kunai had come. "Who's there? Show yourself." Naruto and his tiger summon decided to show themselves to the traitor, so they leapt from the branch they were sitting on and landed on the clearing a short distance from Mizuki and the shivering boy. Naruto said nonchalantly, "Mizuki-sensei, fancy meeting you here at this time of night. Taking a stroll?" Mizuki pretended to be innocent and astonished, but Naruto could see the fear and hatred hiding behind his mask. He pointed his kunai at the trembling former pupil and said, "Namikaze-sama. You're just in time. I was about to apprehend the thief that stole the forbidden scroll." Naruto chose to carry on the drama while feigning surprise at his declaration. "Really? Good work, Mizuki-sensei. Let me just take the scroll and I'll personally return it to the Hokage." Now Mizuki was perspiring. His phony declaration apparently backfired. He made an effort to turn things around. While Mizuki was still perspiring, Naruto thought for a moment. No need to bother yourself, Namikaze-sama. I don't want you to get your hands dirty over such a minor thing. I'll take care of the scroll's return." Mizuki sighed with relief, but Naruto's next words sent shivers down his spine. "Sure thing, Mizuki-sensei. Glad to see you're on the job. Anyway, I'll be off now. You think I'm that stupid Mizuki-teme? You gave yourself away with your lies. The Hokage didn't tell anyone except me and his Anbu that my dad's scroll was stolen, and how come you know about it? All the facts pointed at you being the mastermind of the theft," Naruto said with an icy tone. Mizuki's entire attitude shifted. He gave the boy a sneer. "You're right. I tricked the boy to steal the scroll for me. With it, I'll be rewarded handsomely by my master and will be given power that I have dreamed of since I became a shinobi." Curious, Naruto said, "Oh? And who is this master to offer you such a deal?" Mizuki sneered. "Why should I tell you, brat?" The rogue ninja suddenly threw the kunai he was holding in Naruto's direction, but Naruto easily avoided it. In an attempt to take Naruto by surprise and knock him unconscious so he could finish his mission, Mizuki threw himself at the boy and punched him. Naruto swerved to the right to avoid the punch after seeing it with ease. Naruto took advantage of the circumstance and kicked Mizuki in the stomach, pushing him back. Mizuki snarled and swung another punch at Naruto, but the boy dodged it by leaping forward, flipping, and kicking hard at Mizuki's exposed back before hitting the ground. Mizuki was thrown forward and struck a tree head-on by the force of the kick. "You can't hope to defeat me, Mizuki-teme. Give up now before I have to take drastic measures," told Naruto. "Never, I will complete my mission and no mere genin will stop me," Mizuki yelled. A growl came from next to him, but he was too late to stop Kagetora's tackle, which left him sprawled on the ground with blood streaming from his mouth. When he noticed that the tiger was going to leap once more, he rolled sideways to barely avoid the charging animal, got to his feet, leapt back a short distance, and then assumed a battle stance once more. "Stand down, Teme. You're outmatched. You will never get out of the village with my father's scroll. I will make sure to protect it and the village from your treachery." Mizuki looked at him with amusement and a sneer. "Protect it? Why protect the village that hated you? Do you even know why they hate you? Why they keep glaring at you and beating you almost to death before your inheritance was revealed to the public?" In an attempt to elicit more information from the traitor, Naruto acted as though he had no idea about the entire situation. He adopted a perplexed expression and turned to face Mizuki. "Huh?" Kyuubi was secretly congratulating his container on such a faultless performance. Naruto simply made a mental bow to the fox. "You don't know, did you? You don't know why you're hated?" Mizuki was pushed. "No, I don't." Mizuki laughed and said, "You remember the Kyuubi that attacked Konoha 12 years ago? Of course, it's taught in class. The Yondaime, my father, was able to kill it, thus saving the village from total destruction." With a wild laugh, Mizuki yelled, "You're wrong, brat. The Yondaime didn't kill the beast. Instead, he sealed it inside a boy. You are the Kyuubi no Kitsune." By disclosing this secret, he hoped to divert the boy's attention long enough to get away with the scroll or possibly kill him. He was taken aback, however, by Naruto's laughter and the amused-looking tiger by his side. "What are you laughing at, brat? You are the demon. If I kill you now, I will be declared a hero." Naruto continued to laugh without saying anything. He composed himself again and gave Mizuki a wry glance. You really are a Teme. I already know about the Kyuubi. And if you think I am him, then you are hopeless. My father's seal was foolproof. I am its jailer, not its reincarnation. Now why don't we stop this nonsense and give yourself up? Never. Die, demon. Mizuki grabbed the big shadow shuriken that was strapped to his back from behind him. After spinning it a few times, he threw it with all of his strength at Naruto. Naruto refused to give up. He called forth Kazuhime and cut the approaching projectile in two with a slash. Since Mizuki was still preoccupied with his attack, he wasted no time. He sprinted ahead, slipped beneath the Tame's protection, and skillfully cut his right arm off his shoulder. In an attempt to halt the bleeding before he died, Mizuki screamed in agony and gripped the wound. His scream was interrupted, though, when Naruto struck him in the back of the neck with the blunt side of his sword, rendering him unconscious. After completing his task, Naruto returned it to his tattoo after flicking Kazuhime to remove Mizuki's blood from the blade. He was suddenly confronted by two ANBUs who looked at the bleeding and unconscious Mizuki. Your orders, Namikaze-sama? Naruto acknowledged the ANBU's presence by nodding. Take this traitor to wherever he is supposed to go. I will take care of our wayward thief over there and bring the scroll back to the Hokage. Instructed Naruto. Mizuki was teleported out of the clearing after the two ANBUs nodded and promptly dressed his bleeding stump before he died. After saying, thank you, to Kagetora, Naruto approached the shivering, wide-eyed boy who was holding his father's scroll tightly, as though it were a lifeline. In an attempt to calm the boy down before bringing him to the Hokage, Naruto whispered, relax, I won't hurt you. Now tell me, why did you steal my father's scroll? The boy calmed down a little after hearing what he had to say. Mizuki sensei told me that I can pass the exam if I steal the scroll and learn a few jutsus on it. He approached me after the exam and told me of this makeup exam for those who failed. He told me that he saw a potential in me to be a great ninja, so he only offered the choice to me. He gave me some instructions on how to bypass the Hokage's security in his office and told me where to find the scroll. When I got it, I was supposed to meet him here, but when he arrived, he attacked me and told me that he used me to steal the scroll. He was going to kill me and pin the blame of the theft on me. The boy shouted the last part and burst out crying. After hearing the boy's story, Naruto sensed that it was true. Ultimately, why would the boy steal a scroll that he shouldn't be aware of? Furthermore, without special instructions, no academy should be able to get past the Hokage's security measures surrounding the scroll. After giving the boy a nod, he calmed him down by giving him a back pat. Don't worry. The Hokage won't punish you much. This is a clear case that you were tricked. Come, let's go so you can tell him everything yourself. Naruto teleported out of the clearing toward the Hokage's office after the boy nodded and he put his hand on his shoulder. Hokage Office, Hokage Tower. Sarutobi witnessed all of the events in the clearing and is quite pleased with Naruto's development. He is developing into an exquisite shinobi of the leaf who will soon outshine both his mother and father. He was furious that the traitor had disregarded his order to keep quiet about the Kyuubi after hearing Naruto and Mizuki fight. He was proud of Naruto's self-defense and the way he severed his arm when he witnessed Mizuki attack him. Despite being a chunin, Naruto easily defeated him. When Naruto showed up in his office with the boy who had stolen the scroll, he disconnected his viewing orb. He paid close attention to the explanation and took the academy student's forbidden scroll. He informed the boy that he would be limited to performing D-rank missions throughout the village for a month at half pay, but he did not impose any severe penalties. He turned to face Naruto, who was lying on the couch, after dismissing the relieved boy. Job well done, Naruto. You handled it pretty well considering the rank difference, the Hokage replied. After a brief pause, he said, no problem, Gigi. Despite Mizuki Teme being a chunin, he didn't display any skill that merited the rank. I'm just happy that we got the scroll back. Why don't we put the scroll in my library to avoid getting stolen again? Let's face it, my house is safer than your office. He accepted Naruto's suggestion and gave him the scroll that Naruto had slung on his back, saying, you have a point there. Since it is technically your scroll since your dad created it. Well, I'll be leaving now, Gigi. It's a bit late and I still have team assignments tomorrow. Which reminds me, don't you think you can tell me ahead of time who my sensei and teammates are going to be? Chuckling to the Hokage. When his surrogate grandson tried to coerce information from him, Sarutobi laughed. He glared at the massive stack of papers on his desk and said, oh no, you won't get anything out of me. Now why don't you go home and leave me to my work? I still have tons of paperwork to finish before I can go home and rest. With a broad smile on his face, Naruto said, Really now, Gigi? What if I told you that my father already solved that particular problem? I read in his notes that he was able to find a way to conquer paperwork with a single jutsu. Sarutobi was taken aback. He was aware that Minato managed to overcome the dreaded paperwork that seems to plague every cage and carried the secret with him to his grave. Now that he is aware of the secret, his son was willing to share it with him in order to get information about the team assignment for tomorrow. The opportunity was too good to ignore. He hurried over to his table, retrieved a folder from a drawer, and threw it to Naruto. After catching the folder, Naruto opened it. After reviewing the information, he nodded because he could tell it was accurate. He glanced at the Hokage who was waiting, giving him a naive expression that had no bearing on him. He spoke and laughed. 2 words, Gigi. 2 words. Cage, Bunshin. He dragged out the final sentence to aggravate the elderly man even more. Famous for being the professor and well-versed in numerous jutsus, Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Hokage, was unaware that his paperwork issue could be resolved with ease by a simple shadow clone. He repeatedly mumbled the word, "stupid," and slammed his head against the table. At this, Naruto simply stopped perspiring. He listened to the old man's cackling laugh and shout before bidding the Hokage farewell and teleporting out of the office. BWAHAHAHAHAHAHAH die paperwork die. BWAHAHAHAHAHAH. Naruto was worn out after such an eventful day. After taking the academy's graduation exam in the morning, getting gifts from the summons, and training in the afternoon, he was nearly exhausted after the Mizuki incident in the forest. Having come home on his last leg, he dragged his sore body upstairs to his room on the 2nd floor, set the folder he had received from the Hokage on the bedside table, took off his clothes, and jumped on the bed right away. Even though his body was exhausted, he was still thinking about who would be his teammates tomorrow, so sleep was still far from his mind. As far as choosing a teammate was concerned, Naruto had no preferences. In actuality, all he needs is for them to be resilient enough to face the difficulties they will face going forward as genins of Konohagakure no Sato and prevent both themselves and them from being killed. He reached for the bedside table and took the folder he had conned from the elderly man. Since sleep was still impossible at the moment, he was somewhat taken aback by what he saw when he opened it up. It appears that this year's teams prioritized specialization over balance. Based on the documents, it appears that he was a member of Team 7, which was led by Hitaki Kakashi and included Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke, and himself. In combat scenarios, his team was supposed to be on the front lines, seeking strength to defeat any adversaries they encountered. When he looked at Sasuke's statistics, he saw that it was clear that the Uchiha prodigy was stronger than the other members of their batch, aside from him, of course, which he added after the fact. According to the file, Sasuke would be the team's expert in both taijutsu and ninjutsu, particularly when his Sharingan is activated and his jutsu repertoire grows. Additionally, it was mentioned that if his Sharingan eyes show such abilities, genjutsu might become his specialty. Haruno Sakura came next. Her fandorlish inclination toward the Uchiha made him groan. His team is doomed from the beginning if their sensei is unable to cure her of it. To put it mildly, though, her numbers and team contribution were outstanding. It appears that she has a pseudo-bloodline that has enabled her to increase her physical attacks, and who knew that she had the best chakra control among her peers. Upon seeing his statistics on the file, he nearly burst out laughing. If the numbers listed under his name were any guide, it appears that his attempt to appear weak was successful. Because of his ancestry, ninjutsu was at an all-time high, while taijutsu was rated as average. Even though he cleaned the floor with the Uchiha quite easily, he was a little enraged that he was recorded higher than him. He vowed to disillusion everyone of the truth when they witnessed him in action, assuming his act was too convincing. The idea caused him to smile malevolently. Before forcing himself to go to sleep, he closed the folder and put it back on the table after looking through the other teams and finding nothing intriguing. Academy next day. Excitement was in the air in the classroom. Nearly everyone who passed yesterday's graduation exam was eager to find out who their sensei and teammates would be. However, there were only 4 exceptions. Shikamaru, who was once more sleeping. Shino, who remained as composed as ever. The brooding Uchiha. And, of course, Naruto, who was simply watching everyone in the class with a serene but disinterested expression. Amino Iruka, their academy instructor, emerged from the classroom as the door opened. He hurried to the podium in front of the class and commanded everyone to remain silent. The commotion eventually subsided, particularly after he gave Sakura and Ino a fierce glare as they argued over who should sit next to their precious Sasuke-kun. At the sight, Naruto simply rolled his eyes. Congratulations to everyone who passed the exams yesterday. You are now proud genin of Konoha, and I'm sure that you all would be strong shinobis and kunoichis in the future to make the village proud. Now, let me announce the teams and their respective senseis. First is Team 1. Iruka went on and on while Naruto did not. Iruka doesn't need to know that he already knows which players will play for which team. Naruto focused entirely on Iruka after he concluded his announcement of Team 6. Team 7 would be Uchiha Sasuke. The girls in the classroom all squealed, causing the rest of the class to flinch at the high-pitched noise. Haruno Sakura, the squealing stopped, with the exception of an ecstatic Sakura taunting Ino for not joining the team with his true love. And Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. The class fell silent as Iruka said his name. The boys were shaking their heads pityingly because Naruto would have to put up with the obnoxious Sakura, while Sakura and the other fangirls were glaring at him. Naruto simply regarded them all with amusement while remaining silent. Iruka went on. Team 8 will be Hinata Hyuga, Aburame Shino, and Inazuka Kiba. Your Junan instructor would be Kurenai Yuhi. Team 9 is still in circulation under Maeda Gai. Team 10 will be Yamanaka Ino, Nara Shikamaru, and Akamichi Choji. Shikamaru sighed. The indolent Nara heir muttered, "Great, I'm stuck with Ino. This is so troublesome." Naruto merely laughed. Naruto said, "Calm down, Shika, it won't be that bad." Shikamaru noted, "Sure, you troublesome blonde. You're in the same boat as me. You got Sakura." Naruto merely gestured with his hand. "Nah, having Sakura in the team won't be so bad. I'm sure our sensei will work with her to get rid of her fangirl attitude. I mean, it would be a problem if she doesn't act like a real kunoichi during missions," argued Naruto. Shikamaru simply sighed and resumed his slumber. Iruka then left the room, and the newly minted genins returned to their typical boisterous behavior. "Now that you all know who your teammates are, your Junin senseis will be picking you up in a bit, so I want you to stay in the classroom until they arrive." Picking up their students was a quick process for the Junin senseis. Yuhi Kurenai was the first to call out to Team 8 and give them instructions to head to Training Ground 8 for their meeting. Sarutobi Asuma from Team 10 came right behind this. Each team's Junin senseis picked up their genins one by one until only Team 7 remained. Naruto has been bored for the past 2 hours and has been twitching his eyes a little bit as a result. He made an effort to socialize with his teammates after the first hour in an effort to get to know them better before their sensei showed up. When Sakura screamed for him to stop bothering her Sasuke-kun and Sasuke simply gave him a glare, the idea was instantly dashed. Instead of spending time with the two, he chose to play with his elemental orbs and make them perform tricks in order to kill boredom. When Sakura noticed that Sasuke was giving him a jealous look once more, she naturally reprimanded Naruto for flaunting himself in front of her Sasuke-kun. He was irritated by this and was very close to giving her a taste of his elemental drill. How he wanted to, Kami. After 3 hours, Naruto's acute senses detected footsteps outside the door. He sat up straight in his chair and instantly threw off his Kamigen. Their Junin sensei appeared as the door opened. Naruto thought, there was something familiar about the guy. Although he has a slack expression on his face, he has long since discovered that deceit is a kind of art in the shinobi world. But it was the Junin's gravity-defying silver hair that drew his attention. Naruto smiled because he only knew one person with that hair. Kakashi questioned the 3 genins in front of him, saying, "Yo, I'm Hitaki Kakashi, Junin. You're Team 7, right?" Sakura yelled, "You're late," while Sasuke merely brooded, though it was clear that he was annoyed by their late sensei. Naruto chuckled to himself at their antics. "Well, I have to help this old lady carry her groceries since she was complaining that they were heavy. Then I was accosted by a pair of black cats on the way here, so I have to go back home and do the luck ritual so I won't get their bad luck," explained Kakashi with a grin on her face. Naruto was doing everything he could to keep his stomach ached from clamping down on his laughter. "Liar!" exclaimed the banshee with the pink hair. With an audible poof, he departed, telling his students, "Anyway, I want you to be on the roof in 10 minutes. Don't be late." Naruto got up from his chair and turned to face his teammate. He teleported away to follow his silver-haired sensei in a pillar of red flames, saying, "See you up there, folks." He completely missed Sasuke's glare. In a cloud of smoke, Kakashi reached the roof and waited for his team to ascend for the meeting. A pillar of flame erupted a few feet away from him, revealing a smiling Naruto, and he tensed. He said, "Yo Naruto." To the blonde genin, "Dog-san?" Naruto inquired. "Yep, it's me, but could you keep my Anbu codename a secret?" No one is supposed to know, told Kakashi. Sure. Why didn't you tell me your name before and why did you quit Anbu? Replied Naruto. Kakashi scratched at his own back. Well, I didn't tell you my name because I wasn't allowed to. Hokage-sama asked me to take a temporary leave from my position in Anbu to take a genin team. I was shocked myself, but I can consider this as a vacation which I sorely needed, he clarified. Naruto gave a nod. Kakashi simply sat in one of the railings in front of him, but he went to one of the roof's benches and took a seat. So how have you been? You haven't visited me in a while. Sorry about that. I have been busy with all the missions assigned to my Anbu team. Besides, I was pulled out of your protection since you didn't need it anymore. The Hokage told me that you can easily protect yourself if the spar you had with him was any indication. Naruto was shocked and said, You were there? Nope, but Hokage-sama explained the entire spar to me when I asked why I was being removed and reassigned, replied Kakashi. Naruto was about to ask another question when the door opened, revealing a tired Sakura and a sullen Sasuke. Naruto and Kakashi both shook their heads at her weakness. In order to help Sakura catch up to the boys' level, Kakashi was already regretting the effort he would be putting into the team. Kakashi smiled at his students and said, Good, you're all here. Now what we are going to do is to introduce ourselves for us to get to know each other better. Why don't you start first, Sensei, to show us how it's done, replied Sakura. Sure. My name is Hitaki Kakashi, your Junan sensei. There are a lot of things I like that you need not concern yourself about. My dislike are. I don't think I want to share that with you either. My hobbies, moving on. My dreams for the future, well, it's too personal for you to know, so I'll just keep it to myself, thank you very much. The fact that they only received his name infuriated Sakura. The same thing was being done by Sasuke. Naruto did his best not to chuckle at their expressions. Why don't you go next, Pinky? Kakashi asked, gesturing to Sakura, who was irritated at being referred to as a Pinky. She squealed as she turned to face Sasuke and said, My name is Haruno Sakura. I dislike Ino and Naruto Baka. My hobbies are, she said, looking at Sasuke before blushing. And my dreams for the future are, he directed a seductive glance at Sasuke, frightening the teenager with the dark hair. Okay, your turn, Blondie. He made a gesture toward Naruto, who was perspiring from suppressing his laughter. Naruto straightened in his chair and coughed. When he mentioned summons, Kakashi and Sasuke both gave him strange looks. My name is Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. My hobbies are training, reading the various books in my clan's library, my summons, and ramen. I like my adopted family, namely the Ichiraku family, Hokage Gigi, Dog-san, and flying around with my summon. I dislike people who are arrogant, bigoted, and close-minded. My dream for the future is to make my friends and families proud and become the strongest shinobi in the world. After nodding, Kakashi turned to face the sullen Sasuke. Your turn, emo boy. Sasuke frowned. My name is Uchiha Sasuke. I don't have any likes and I have a lot of dislikes. My hobby is to train to get stronger. My dream, no, my life ambition, is to avenge my clan by killing someone I hate. He spoke in a monotone voice. Sakura was staring at Sasuke with hearts in her eyes because she thought his introduction was awesome. Both Kakashi and Naruto were thinking, this kid is going to be trouble. When they introduced themselves, Kakashi nodded. The three genins were staring at him in disbelief as he said, Good. Now that we know a little bit about each other, I want you all to meet me in Training Ground 7 at exactly 6 in the morning for survival training tomorrow. But Sakura made the decision to voice her opinion. Kakashi-sensei, we already passed the survival training while we were in the academy. I know, but this is my survival training in order for you to pass and become genins of Konoha. Naruto and Sasuke were now interested in this, but what Sakura heard didn't sit well with her. What? But Iruka-sensei told us that we are already genins and we already passed the exam yesterday. The loud voice made Kakashi wince. True, you did pass the academy exam, but that doesn't necessarily mean you were genins. The exams in the academy were to weed out untalented students who don't have what it takes to become shinobis. Those who pass will need to take another test from their respective Junan sensei before they can be recognized as real genins of Konoha. Curious about the whole thing, Naruto asked, so what's entailed in this survival training? You mentioned Kakashi-sensei? Kakashi simply smiled slightly at Naruto. With a menacing tone that practically sent shivers down their spines, he said, You'll just have to find out tomorrow now, would you? Also, I would like to warn you that not all of you can pass. In fact, Statistics show that 66% of those who took part of their Junan sensei's test failed. He left the three genins alone and went via Shunshin, saying, "Anyway, see you tomorrow in training ground 7 at 6. Oh, by the way, don't eat any breakfast since you will definitely puke it out during my test." Naruto glanced at the seats occupied by his teammates. "Hey guys, why don't we go get a bite of lunch together and discuss about the test tomorrow?" Sakura simply glared at Sasuke and followed the sullen teenager as he grunted a negative and began to leave. He dismissed his attempts to be friendly with his teammates, shrugging his shoulders. It was still early when he looked up, so he made the decision to enjoy some much-needed flight and spend some time with his favorite Phoenix summon. Unaware that Sakura and Sasuke were staring at him, he moved to the middle of the roof. To summon one of his favorite summons, he directed a small portion of his chakra toward his Phoenix tattoo. Before it dispersed and revealed a dark red phoenix with amber eyes, a huge puff of smoke covered the entire roof. The Phoenix summoner said, "Naruto-sama. What can I do for you this fine day?" An ecstatic Naruto said, "Hey Hikari, I have the entire afternoon free. What do you think about spending it having a good fly?" Hikari said, "Of course Naruto-sama. I always enjoy our flight together. Hop on." She asked Naruto to jump on her back by spreading her wings slightly. Naruto wasted little time. In order to hold Hikari in place, he channeled chakra to his feet after jumping and landing on his back. Hikari spread her magnificent wings and grew to her full height. After flapping a few times, she made a strong leap into the air and took off in the direction of one of the wooded areas that surrounded Konoha. Sakura was staring at Naruto and his bird as they flew away, her jaw dropping at the sight. She was shocked by what Naruto had just done. Sasuke, however, was trembling with anger. Despite being the rookie of the year, Naruto had such a strong summon. Okay, it ought to belong to him. Sakura followed him as he stomped off to the door to exit the academy. After the roof cleared, Kakashi let go of his genjutsu and laughed a little at Naruto's cocky demeanor. When Naruto offered the other two the opportunity to become friends, he shook his head at what they had done. Before he actually left the roof this time, Kakashi muttered, "I have my work cut out for me with these three. I hope Kami will show some mercy."
I will continue the story in next part. Till then, we weeb offline.